Chapter 224. Jiang Tian remembered that in his previous life, Huang Linger was completely obedient to him. The only thing she would stop him from doing was smoking. Huang Linger probably hated him to the core, but she still had unrealistic fantasies and expectations. That was why she subconsciously stopped him when he smoked. This proved a saying: men and women who were once deeply in love always had a blind heart of self-abuse. Linger, I didn't go looking for Professor Huang because of you. Before this, I didn't even know that you were Professor Huang's daughter. Jiang Tian placed the cigarette box on the coffee table and said in a deep voice, I've read your father's thesis. I think he's really talented and fits the needs of our Medicine King group for future research. I also believe that he'll definitely achieve great things. This has nothing to do with the deal I made with you back then. Perhaps it was Jiang Tian's evaluation of Huang Zhihui that made the frost on Huang Linger's pretty face melt instantly. Young girls always had a natural admiration for their fathers. Even if Huang Zhihui's appearance shouldn't make others think that he was outstanding at first glance, and she had been ridiculed because of her father's research, Jiang Tian's approval of her father always eased her antagonistic feelings. Jiang Tian saw Huang Linger's expression soften and knew that his words had some effect. He sighed in his heart that little girls were always easy to fool. Actually, I didn't make any deal with you. I wronged you before, and I also had the intention of deceiving you. Jiang Tian would rather Huang Linger continue to hate him than have her heart become twisted and lead a deformed life. He said indifferently, when your father comes back later, I'll say that you've already apologized. Even if it's me who should apologize to you, I'll also pretend that we've never met. Why don't you lie to me anymore? Or is this another set of lies? Huang Linger's pretty face turned pale. She bit her lips so hard that they almost bled. Her heart was filled with unwillingness. She didn't know which of Jiang Tian's words were true and which were false. Perhaps every word was a lie. I'm already married, and we have a good relationship. I'll treat you as my younger sister. If there's still some affection between us, you can treat me as your elder brother. Jiang Tian sighed softly and said these words with difficulty. Just as he was about to say something else, he heard the sound of heels clicking on the floor. Yi Ziwei and Huang Zhihui were walking down the stairs, talking and laughing. On this day, Jiang Tian was studying the design of the reactor in the villa. Suddenly, Zhen Shuai came looking for him. Last year, when Jiang Tian returned to Qixia County for the first time, he had seen Zhen Shuai and Tan Guangxiu, his two childhood friends, once. At that time, it was Tan Guangxiu and Zhen Shuai who had told him about Qixia Pharmaceutical Company's predicament. Jiang Tian had also casually dealt with Sun Hao, who had once slapped Zhen Shuai. However, in the past 6 months, Jiang Tian hadn't contacted him. Jiang Tian also didn't feel the need to contact him. Although Zhen Shuai couldn't be considered wealthy in his previous life, he had also lived a peaceful life. Jiang Tian didn't feel the need to drag him into his world of carnage. Jiang Tian, you're too cocky. How long have you been back in Jinling? I can't even ask you out. If I didn't ask Auntie, I wouldn't have known you were hiding here. Zhen Shuai sat down on the sofa and puffed out smoke with a cigarette in his mouth. He looked at Jiang Tian with a face full of hidden bitterness. Without waiting for Jiang Tian to reply, Zhen Shuai cast a sidelong glance at Jiang Tian and said with a smile, You're cooped up at home every day. You don't even come out to play with me. What are you doing? Cultivating to become an immortal. Jiang Tian's head was filled with black lines. Zhen Shuai really hit the nail on the head. I really am cultivating to become an immortal. However, he said indifferently, a pile of things. I'm currently setting up a laboratory in the Medicine King group. Zhen Shuai wasn't a serious person at all. He had no interest in this kind of serious business. He said with a smile, Let's go. Don't be cooped up at home every day. Let's go out and have some fun. Today, our Qixia Courtyard's disciples are having a gathering. As it turned out, there were quite a few disciples of the Qixia County's county government and county committee's courtyard who were working hard in Jinling. Thus, they formed a Qixia Disciples Fellowship. After all, they weren't familiar with the people and the place here. Everyone would often get to know each other and take care of each other if something happened. Jiang Tian, I also know that the Medicine King Group's current situation isn't too good. Zhen Shuai became serious for once. With a dignified face, he said earnestly, "Our group of disciples works in all kinds of industries. Moreover, sometimes we'll bring some good friends over. Who knows, maybe they'll be of help to you and the Medicine King Group." Jiang Tian smiled bitterly in his heart. How could this group of disciples be of any help to him at this level? However, seeing that Zhen Shuai was considerate for once, he gladly agreed. The Shixia Disciples Club was located in a secluded alley in the Yuhua district. Under the shroud of night, the small courtyard gurgled with spring water. The bamboo forest was dense, and the lights were blurred. It had a noble atmosphere. "You're not bad. You're quite compatible with the surroundings." Zhen Shuai parked the Porsche Cayenne by the roadside. As the two of them walked into the courtyard, Jiang Tian smiled faintly and praised. "It's not mine. It's Ouyang Bin's." Zhen Shuai smiled awkwardly and said, "This kid is doing well now. He opened a construction company in Jinling. His qualifications are very good, and he can undertake large projects. His assets have reached the scale of tens of millions. How can I compare to him?" Ouyang Bin's assets have also reached tens of millions. A trace of mockery appeared on Jiang Tian's face. His eyes were filled with contempt. It was only tens of millions. In the eyes of others, it was considered a huge fortune. However, in Jiang Tian's eyes, it was just a drop in the ocean. "Jiang Tian, I know you looked down on him when he was young, and you always bullied him. But it's different now." Zhen Shuai saw Jiang Tian's expression and said anxiously, "His father is now the deputy director of the Public Security Bureau in Jinling's Yuhua district. It's not like back then. Besides, Uncle Jiang and Auntie Jiang have lost their power in the Jiang family and the Medicine King Group. If you don't make some friends and help, you'll suffer in the Jiang family in the future." Since the old man's birthday before the Spring Festival, the Jiang family had gone through a series of changes. However, these news were kept a secret from the public. They only released a few job announcements on the Medicine King Group's official website. However, Zhen Shuai was originally playful and active. He didn't pay attention to these things. "Don't worry." Jiang Tian patted his shoulder and walked toward the hall. "Why is she here?" However, as he walked, Jiang Tian was slightly stunned. He frowned and turned to look at a private room. Jiang Tian had left his divine sense mark on the protective jade amulet. This jade amulet was worn by Huang Linger. The next moment, he released his divine sense and saw Huang Linger sitting on the sofa in a private room. She was waiting for someone. She frowned and looked worried. She seemed to be anxious. "Jiang Tian, what are you doing? Let's go." Zhen Shuai saw Jiang Tian in a daze and pulled him. "Oh, nothing. Let's go." Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with a murderous look. His heart skipped a beat. "It's already March. Don't tell me that thing is going to happen." Jiang Tian remembered that in his previous life, Huang Linger borrowed money from Nie Feng and couldn't pay it back. In order to repay her father's debt, she had no choice but to give herself to him. According to Ding Jiabi, it was in March of this year that Nie Feng invited Huang Linger to a private club and forced himself on her in the name of discussing the debt. Huang Linger was very obedient and sensible. She was afraid that her father would fight with Nie Feng. She was even more worried that her mother, who was already on the verge of collapse, wouldn't be able to take the blow. So, she kept this matter a secret from her family. That kind of bone-piercing pain, monstrous hatred, endless grievances, and fear could not be relieved or released in the slightest. They fermented and grew in her small body day by day, gradually becoming heavier and heavier. Finally, the pressure completely swallowed her entire mind, and also completely crushed her delicate body. Later, she suffered from severe depression and even schizophrenia. After a long time of treatment, she was tortured. Finally, on Christmas Day in 2012, she jumped and died, ending her sad and lamentable life. As his mind wandered, Jiang Tian walked into an exquisite private room. He saw a group of people from the elite family crowding around Ouyang Bin, who was sitting in the middle of the room, chatting and laughing. Unlike the Jiang family members who liked to talk about sports cars, women, and fun, their topics were relatively high-end. It involved urban planning, the direction of policy, and business operations. It was not something that ordinary people could imagine. Don't think that the financial crisis in America will affect Hua Xia's real estate market. Don't worry, the government will definitely use real estate to boost the economy. Housing prices will usher in a period of explosive growth. Take the land that should be taken. Li Xingchen had an international perspective. I just asked my father to think of a way to buy a few houses in Jinling. I can guarantee that after selling them in a year, we will definitely earn 20%. If anyone has spare funds, you can do it with me. Zhang Yulin was a man of action. His father had been transferred to the housing department. In the past few years, he had easily earned tens of millions just by speculating in real estate. I have carefully selected a few real estate stocks to hide. In 3 months, the profit has risen by 30%. Now, part of it has already been sold. Lu Daolin cut in from another angle. Nie Zhanghai is determined to get that piece of land in Mount Fulong. He has already reorganized the Qingyun society. Now, the decline caused by Sun Hao's disappearance has been swept clean. He is reinvigorated. Recently, the Chen family has been investigating Chen Bo's death in Hubei province. It seems that they have already made some progress and are preparing to launch a bloody revenge. Yangbin didn't say much, but every word he said was important news. He set things right and hit the nail on the head. Now that he was contracting projects under Nie Zhanghai, the tycoon of Jinling real estate, he was in contact with the rich and powerful politicians. In this kind of situation, Zhen Shuai, who had been showing off in Qixia County, was a little timid. He pulled Jiang Tian to sit at the end and whispered, "Jiang Tian, don't be anxious. Listen carefully to what they are talking about. It will be very beneficial for our future development." Looking at Zhen Shuai's serious expression, Jiang Tian felt that it was ridiculous, but he was also a little relieved. No matter what, Zhen Shuai now knew to work hard and fight for it. Finally, there was a break. Chapter 225. Yangbin pulled Jiang Tian to his side and poured a cup of tea for Jiang Tian. "Jiang Tian, you haven't been back for 3 years. When did you come back? Did the old man allow you to come back?" "I came back before the spring festival." Jiang Tian took a sip of tea and smiled. It was as if the Hong Pao, which was worth tens of thousands of taels, was nothing to him. "You're amazing. Don't tell me you're back in charge of the Medicine King Group? You're the one who dared to step on the young lord of Yanjin." Yangbin teased. In his view, the Medicine King Group was already on the verge of collapse. Moreover, even if the Medicine King Group was still okay, Jiang Tian had caused a huge disaster and was now a rat on the street that everyone in the Jiang family wanted to beat up. He was probably very weak and couldn't be compared to him at all. Being abandoned by a powerful family was even worse. He would be crushed by his family and wouldn't be able to make a name for himself. He might as well not have this family background. Nope. The Medicine King Group and the Jinling Pharmaceutical University have set up a laboratory and I'm a researcher there. How much does it cost a month? About 10,000 a month. Holy shit, the Jiang family is too harsh on you. Yangbin slammed the table and complained for Jiang Tian. "Only 10,000? That's not even enough to pay for my cigarettes a month. Brother, you can work with me. I've taken on a few projects under Boss Nye and I'm earning tens of millions a month." "You're awesome. Young Lord Bin, you're awesome." Many of his childhood friends' eyes lit up when they heard this, and they began to flatter him with all sorts of flattery. Many girls even came over to toast Yangbin and threw flirtatious glances at him, wanting to get a share of the profits from his projects. On the side, Zhen Shuai's eyes also lit up as he persuaded, "Jiang Tian, it's not a bad idea to work with Ouyang. The Medicine King Group and the Jiang family don't value you. You can earn tens of millions a year and let them be jealous." Shaking his head, Jiang Tian faintly replied, "Forget it. No matter what, the Jiang family is my family, and the Medicine King Group is also my mother's painstaking effort. Working in the Medicine King Group will make me feel more at ease." Zhen Shuai knew Jiang Tian's personality and gave up on persuading him. Next to him, A girl with exquisite makeup and sexy attire said coquettishly, Jiangtan, how can you do this? Ouyang gave you a good job because you've lived in the same compound for a few years. Jiang Tian smiled and teased, you seem to be called Jing Xia, right? You should go. Ouyang will definitely like your style. Everyone knew that Ouyang Bin was extremely lecherous. How could they not know the meaning behind Jiang Tian's words? They all chuckled. Zheng Xia's pretty face turned red, then she acted coquettishly in front of Ouyang Bin and said, Brother Ouyang Bin, look, he's bullying me. Ouyang Bin chuckled as he patted her butt and said, It's fine, Jiang Tian is just joking. But tomorrow, you will come to my company to work as my secretary. I will assign a project to you. Okay, Brother Ouyang Bin. I will work hard. Zheng Xia was overjoyed and said with a joyful face. Using your old saying, the secretary will do the work during the day, and the secretary will do the work at night. Jiang Tian turned to Zhen Shuai and smiled. Originally, the well water did not interfere with the river water. But Zheng Xia wanted to step on him, so why should Jiang Tian give her face? You're joking? Zhen Shuai's face stiffened. He frowned at Jiang Tian and signaled him not to talk nonsense. Jiangtan, you're a little too much. Hearing that, Ouyang Bin's face sank and a murderous light flashed in the depths of his eyes. Zhen Shuai hurriedly mediated and laughed. Forget it. Boss Ouyang Bin, Jing Xia, don't take it to heart. Jiang Tian is just joking. Ouyang Bin, you're a big boss. Why do you have to lower yourself to the same level as Jiang Tian? Don't you know that he likes to joke? His mouth is as cheap as mine. Zheng Xia rolled her eyes at Jiang Tian and said disdainfully, You're already in this situation, so what's there to be arrogant about? She swayed her sexy waist and returned to her seat. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and was too lazy to bother with her. Ouyang Bin's expression turned slightly ugly as he frowned and said, Jiang Tian, it's been so many years, but your bad temper still hasn't changed. Don't forget that you're no longer the crown prince of the Medicine King group. You have to be clear about your identity. Alright, Ouyang Bin. You don't have to worry about whether I'm doing well or not. Jiang Tian smiled lazily. Ouyang Bin was angry in his heart, but after being in the society for so many years, he more or less had some shrewdness. He suppressed his anger and stood up with a glass of wine in his hand. Alright, brothers and sisters, the county government and county government are the only ones who are doing well in Jinling. Everyone is doing well in Jinling, and we're not familiar with the place. It's not easy, so we have to take care of each other and support each other in the future. I'll say it here. If anyone needs me, Ouyang Bin, in the future, just say the word, and I'll do my best. His speech was beautiful and everyone cheered loudly. The waiter also began to serve the dishes, and the banquet began. Sorry, I'm late. At this moment, a soft and sweet voice suddenly came from the door. A graceful voice walked in. She was a woman about 27 or 28 years old. She was tall and wore a striped shirt paired with a white suit and a black professional skirt. Her beautiful curves were exposed, and she was curvaceous in all the right places. The soft light shone on her delicate face. Her jade-like skin was sparkling and translucent, tender and flawless. Her eyes were like the stars, and her eyebrows were like the distant mountains. She was so beautiful that it was soul-stirring. It was unforgettable. At this moment, all the male compatriots stopped breathing and stared at her as if their souls had left their bodies. Zheng Xia and other female compatriots were full of envy and jealousy. There was also a sense of inferiority. Mu Yunqing! Everyone exclaimed in shock. At that time, she was the dream lover of many students, including Jiang Tian, who was a member of the vast army who admired her. But later, Mu Yunqing's father was transferred to Jinling City to serve as the secretary of the district committee, and Mu Yunqing left the compound. After Mu Yunqing went to Jinling University, she developed very well in recent years. Her business was very big, she invested in several innovative companies, and the assets she controlled were hundreds of millions of yuan. In particular, her company was a consulting company, which provided services for big families and listed companies. She could drink and talk with Jinling's first-tier young masters. She was not at the same level as them. So everyone really didn't expect Mu Yunqing to be able to attend their party. Goddess. At this moment, Youngbin's saliva almost flowed down. Compared to her, Zheng Xia and the other girls present were like chickens meeting a peacock, and they paled in comparison. In particular, her capable and elegant temperament of a strong woman made people unable to take their eyes off her. At this time, everyone's eyes fell on Jiang Tian. Because at that time, Jiang Tian and her made a big scandal. At that time, Mu Yunqing and Jiang Tian lived not far from his home. Mu Yunqing always liked to discipline Jiang Tian as a big sister and help him with his homework. Jiang Tian, who was still in the beginning of the year, was obsessed with Mu Yunqing and wrote a drawer of love letters to Mu Yunqing. As a result, Mu Yunqing, who was concentrating on preparing for the college entrance examination, didn't even look at it and directly handed it to her father, who was the secretary of the county party committee. Her father went directly to Jiang Zhixing. Jiang Zhixing was so angry that he beat Jiang Tian violently and chased Jiang Tian down 2 streets with a broom. Sister Mu, sit here. Yangbin was so excited that he quickly stood up, and no boy present dared to grab his seat with him. Zhang Yulin next to him obediently gave up his seat and found an empty seat to sit down. I miss my younger brothers and sisters in the compound very much, so I came uninvited. Please don't take offense. Mu Yunqing's aura was huge, and she looked like a capable woman, but she also gave people a feeling of a spring breeze. She greeted everyone enthusiastically. Everyone, don't get up, just sit down. She directly pushed Zhen Shui aside and sat down next to Jiang Tian. She looked at Jiang Tian deeply and said with a smile, Jiang Tian, how have you been recently? Seeing this, Yangbin's face was stiff, and he thought gloomily, no way Mu Yunqing came for Jiang Tian? So, just fooling around. The moment he saw her, Jiang Tian was also stunned, but soon his eyes calmed down and he said with a blank expression. In fact, when he saw Mu Yunqing again, he had already thought of the embarrassing thing when he was obsessed with her and pursued her. However, the past was like the wind, and everything was in the past. He now has Qingya, and his heart has long been like still water. Oh, Sister Mu, now Jiang Tian has returned to Jinling, and he is working as a researcher in the Medicine King Group's bullshit laboratory. He earns a high salary of 10,000 yuan a month. Yangbin said with a smile. Yangbin just asked him to work in his company, and he refused. His vision is really high. Maybe Jiang Tian also wants to control the Medicine King Group. After all, he is a direct descendant, so there is a lot of hope. Everyone suddenly burst into laughter, and their faces were full of ridicule. In this regard, Jiang Tian calmly nodded, looked at Mu Yunqing and said lightly, that is indeed the case. Yangbin reported it for me, so I won't say more. Mu Yunqing smiled. After everyone changed the topic, she finally smiled and looked at Jiang Tian with interest. She said in a low voice, Jiang Tian, you're very low-key. How am I low-key? Your mother has now regained control of the Medicine King Group, and you are the real crown prince of the Medicine King Group. You are very well informed. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. In Jinling, there are not many things that can be hidden from me. Don't hide it from your sister in the future. Mu Yunqing took out a business card holder, pulled out a card and gave it to Jiang Tian, and whispered in his ear. Ruiji Enterprise Consulting, Chairman. In this regard, Jiang Tian's expression did not change, and he put the business card in his pocket and said lightly, Hee, you got the news from my sister. If you're smart. Actually, Ziwei and I live next door. When you come home, I will cook for you. I live alone, so it is very convenient. Mu Yunqing smiled sweetly, and there was a bit of a mischievous little girl's attitude, which made people unable to resist at first glance. Jiang Tian smiled noncommittally. People are no longer young, and everyone is no longer simple. Last time in Ziwei's office, she saw that he was cold and disdainful, but that was because she did not know that his mother had taken control of the Medicine King Group. Now that she heard the news from Ziwei, she immediately came to make friends with him and wanted to talk about old feelings. It was nothing more than paving the way for the future and pulling in some business. You don't want to come to my house. Chapter 226. After she finished speaking, she looked at Jiang Tian with interest. Her bright and beautiful eyes flickered with extraordinary splendor. She found that Jiang Tian had changed. His temperament was very calm. There was a kind of temperament that would not change even if Mount Tai collapsed in front of him. She had only seen this kind of temperament from the top figures in Jinling. She couldn't help but marvel. I hope to contact you more in the future. Seeing that she couldn't break the deadlock for a while, Mu Yunqing stood up again and handed the business card to everyone present. Those who received the business card were flattered. How is it? Now that Sister Mu is the chairman, the assets of several enterprises add up to hundreds of millions. Jiang Tian, do you have any inferiority complex? Ouyang drank a few mouthfuls of wine, his breath was strong, and his face was full of disdain. Who gave you the courage to pursue Sister Mu in the past? Now, do you know the gap between you and Sister Mu? Everyone looked at Jiang Tian with ridicule and ridicule. Oh, I don't think so. Everyone has their strengths and weaknesses. I'm not good at business management, but I have my own strengths. In this regard, Jiang Tian was unmoved and smiled faintly. Some people are good at cockfighting, some people are good at business management, some people are good at playing politics and can rise all the way. Ouyang Bin sneered. In the Jiang family, even Jiang Chao opened an antique shop and can make millions a year, which can beat you. But what about you, Jiang Tian, what are you good at? I'm good at fists. Jiang Tian said indifferently. Ah, fighting? Jiang Tian, you're awesome. Yes. Jiang Tian's valiant record is that he beat the rich young master of Yanjing. Then he was expelled from the family and didn't dare to come back for 3 years. Everyone burst into laughter. Some even laughed until tears almost came out. They slapped their thighs and their faces were full of ridicule. At their level, they were comparing vision, IQ, and connections. The street fights of local hooligans were simply not worth mentioning. Even those so-called military elites, no matter how good they were at fighting, were nothing more than bodyguards for the rich and powerful after retirement. A weak woman like Mu Yunqing, who doesn't have the strength to truss a chicken, also occupies half of the Jinling enterprise consulting industry. She controls hundreds of millions of yuan of assets in her hands, and can drink and chat with those rich and powerful local officials. This was their role model, their goal. Jiang Tian, if you're good at fighting, I have a few friends who are coaches at the provincial sports school. They're pretty good at sanda and kickboxing. How about we find an opportunity to spar some other day? Ouyang Bin chuckled, but there was a hint of coldness in the depths of his eyes. Before Jiang Tian could speak, Mu Yunqing raised her eyebrows and scolded, Ouyang Bin, what are you doing? Hee Mujia, I was just joking. How could I really let Jiang Tian get beaten up? Ouyang Bin smiled awkwardly, feeling very unhappy. What kind of thing is Jiang Tian, to actually let Mu Yunqing protect him so enthusiastically? He quickly changed the topic and said with a smile, by the way, young Master Nie Feng is also drinking at the club today. Let's go over and have a toast. Nie Zhanghai's youngest son. That's good. Ouyang Bin, you're really amazing now. You can even play with young Master Nie. Everyone was excited and flattered Ouyang Bin. Nie Zhanghai crossed the political and business world. He had a strong background and powerful strength. He could be ranked in the top 5 in Jinling. He was definitely an unattainable existence. If they could talk to a young master like Nie Feng, it could be said that their future would be smooth and they would have a meteoric rise. I've drunk with young Master Nie several times. Young Master Nie is also a frequent customer here. Ouyang Bin's face was smug as he proudly said, Zhen Shuai, haven't you always wanted to know him? Yes, Ouyang Bin, if I can get to know young Master Nie, I won't forget your kindness. Zhen Shuai was also excited. He held the cup with both hands and toasted. Ouyang Bin smiled faintly and said, Don't worry with me here, I guarantee that you'll be able to eat well in Jinling. I don't know where Sun Hao went during this time. Otherwise, I could also introduce you to him. I went to Sun Hao's place a few times, but he wasn't willing to take me to play. Zhen Shuai sighed gloomily. Sun Hao controls dynasty real estate. He has tyrannical strength and high vision. It's normal that he doesn't take you to play. Oh Yangbin said. Yes, if you want to get to know such a big figure, you must have patience and sincerity. Yes, 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 you must have indomitable courage. Everyone expressed their agreement. Zhen Shuai, you're really useless. Suddenly, Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, Didn't I say that Sun Hao will kneel to you when he sees you in the future? Jiang Tian, what did you say? Once these words came out, everyone was shocked. Everyone looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. The Sun family's strength was well known in Jinling. Their family's assets were in the tens of billions, and dynasty real estate was even more famous. Jiang Tian was an abandoned son of a declining family. How could he compare to them? However, he doesn't have the chance anymore because I've already killed him. Jiang Tian said lazily. Jiang Tian, you really know how to brag. You're not even fit to carry Sun Hao's shoes. Oh Yangbin sneered. That's right, in order to attract Sister Mu's attention, he even said such reckless words. Jiang Tian, do you know what the consequences are if these words are spread out? That's not a matter of whether you can survive or not. The Sun family can destroy your Jiang family in a matter of minutes. Everyone present didn't believe him at all. They were all disdainful. Zhen Shuai was speechless and quickly tried to smooth things over for Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian was just joking. He's righteous and wanted to help me vent my anger. Everyone, don't take it seriously and don't spread it out. What joke? To be honest, in less than half a year, I'll completely destroy the Sun family. Jiang Tian said with a serious face. Jiang Tian, don't even talk about your trashy ability. With your arrogant and despotic personality, with that lousy mouth of yours, you won't be able to survive here. Oh Yangbin curled his lips and sneered disdainfully. Everyone was unwilling to pay attention to Jiang Tian. They had nothing to say. Even Zhen Shuai was ignored and marginalized by everyone. Sigh, I wanted to introduce him to some friends, but in the end he made me unable to step down. Zhen Shuai drank his wine and sighed. He was very disappointed with Jiang Tian. He's already so old, how come he hasn't made any progress? The atmosphere was destroyed. Everyone was only focused on eating. Only Mu Yunqing was talking to Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian, don't joke around. If this kind of word gets out, you'll be in trouble. I heard that the Sun family was furious because of Sun Hao's disappearance. They're investigating. Mu Yunqing said with a solemn face. Really? Let them investigate. Jiang Tian's face was full of indifference. How can you be so ignorant? Mu Yunqing anxiously glared at Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian smiled and didn't say anything. What's your plan when you come back? Lead the Jiang family to dominate Jinling. That Sun family, Qin family, Nye family, and other families will be eliminated. Are you crazy? Seriously, talk to me. What's your plan when you come back? Really dominate Jinling. As they chatted, even Mu Yunqing was speechless with Jiang Tian. She was too lazy to pay attention to him. I heard that you came to the party, so I came to see you. You're joking with me, not serious at all. She heard from Yi Ziwei that Zhang Wanqing took control of the Medicine King group around the Spring Festival. Maybe Jiang Tian would take over his mother's position and become the head of the Medicine King group. So she wanted to come and see Jiang Tian. Maybe there would be opportunities for cooperation in the future. And when she first saw Jiang Tian, she felt that Jiang Tian seemed to be a lot more mature and had a somewhat calm temperament. But now, after chatting with him, she couldn't help but be disappointed with Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian was so arrogant and didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. Even if he had his mother's support, he wouldn't be able to convince the people in the Jiang family. She was afraid that he could only mix at the bottom for the rest of his life. At this time, Oh Yangbin looked at the time, stood up and said, We're almost done drinking. I'll take everyone to Nye Shao for a toast. Let's go. We've been waiting for a long time. This is Nye Shao. Everyone present was very excited and responded enthusiastically. Even Mu Yunqing was slightly moved. The reason why she could contact Nye Mingyuan was because she was Yi Ziwei's best friend. She was still far from the top class. Zhen Shuai pulled Jiang Tian and said helplessly, Brother Tian, I beg you to put away your bad temper. It's not bad for you to make more friends. But unexpectedly, Jiang Tian got up quickly this time and walked faster than anyone else. He took the lead and rushed out of the box. Look, Jiang Tian is anxious now. He wants to hug Nie Xiao's thigh. If you have guts, continue to be arrogant. Someone mocked in a sarcastic tone. Jiang Tian, why are you in such a hurry? Without my introduction, it's rude to rush over like this. Don't forget to knock on the door. Seeing Jiang Tian rushing over, Yangbin's face became anxious. He hurried a few steps to catch up and pulled Jiang Tian's arm. Get out. At this time, Jiang Tian had arrived at the door of the box where Nie Feng was. With a swing of his arm, he threw Yangbin to the ground. Then, under the horrified gaze of everyone, Jiang Tian lifted his leg and kicked the carved solid wood door of the box. Bang! There was a loud noise. Everyone's face turned pale and they trembled. It's over. Yangbin was so scared that he broke out in a cold sweat and almost sat on the ground. Nie Xiao, we have paid you back the money we owed you. Why do you still want me to pay with my body? In the box, Huang Linger shrank in the corner of the sofa. Her face was full of tears. She shivered and begged a tall young man with an evil smile. Your father owes me a loan shark. Do you know what a loan shark is? With compound interest, he only paid me 2 million, but he still owes me 3 million. Nie Feng was like a ferocious beast overlooking the little white rabbit in front of him. He sneered and said, I just let you sleep with me for one night, and this debt is settled. This is a good deal for you. 3 million a night, that's the price of an A-list celebrity. Chapter 227. I won't. Huang Linger's face was covered in tears as she begged, Young Master Nie, I beg you, please let me go. If you really want money, I can think of a way to raise some money to pay you back. Don't pretend to be virtuous. Do you think I don't know you? Nie Feng's face was gloomy as he grinned. You were previously kept by Jiang Tian. Do you still think you're a pure white lotus? Hurry up and obediently take off your clothes. You know my power. If I want to kill your whole family, it's the same as playing with them. Huang Linger's originally pale face became even paler, but she still kept shaking her head. Crystal clear tears also fell down. Fine. If you don't want to take it off, then I'll help you. I'm also a gentleman. Nie Feng smiled sinisterly. He walked up to Huang Linger and reached for her collar. Suddenly, he tore open the buttons on her shirt and gripped it tightly. It was also at this moment that the door was kicked open with a bang. Nie Feng turned his head and was slightly stunned. Jiang Dun, why are you back? He knew Jiang Tian inside out and didn't put Jiang Tian in his eyes. He let go of Huang Linger and lazily approached Jiang Tian. He smiled and said, I know you kept her before, but she's not your wife. You don't mind, do you? What do you think? Jiang Tian paced forward. His tone was cold, like ice that couldn't be melted for 10,000 years, making people shiver. You want to meddle in other people's business? Nie Feng was stunned at first, then he laughed arrogantly and domineeringly. Jiang Tian, you're really funny. You're just an abandoned son of the Jiang family. You're not even worthy of carrying my shoes, yet you dare to act pretentious in front of me? Your behavior is tantamount to hitting a stone with an egg. You're an idiot. Jiang Tian, what are you doing? Don't you see that they have so many hired thugs? Zhen Shuai pulled Jiang Tian and was so anxious that he almost fainted. Even when the Medicine King group was at its peak, Jiang Tian was no match for Nie Feng. Especially behind Nie Feng, there were still more than a dozen black-clothed men standing. They were the experts of the Clear Sky Society. Wasn't it just looking for abuse to fight with them barehanded? Jiang Tian, why are you meddling in other people's business? Come back or I'll tell your sister. Mu Yunqing's face was anxious, frowning. Mu Yunqing is more and more disappointed with Jiang Tian. For the sake of a girl who sold her body, he didn't hesitate to offend Nie Feng. This was too muddle-headed. It was simply striking a stone with an egg. Young Master Nie, this guy has nothing to do with us. Don't give him face, just beat him to death. Yangbin was so shocked that his face turned pale. He broke out in a cold sweat. After figuring out everything, he was even more furious at Jiang Tian. He immediately cut off all ties with Jiang Tian. Trash, are you a match for me? I told you to get lost, didn't you hear me? Nie Feng smiled contemptuously. He stepped forward and pointed his finger at Jiang Tian's nose. For a little bitch who sold her body, you really have the ability to fight with me. The matter of Huang Linger selling her body to Jiang Tian was mentioned again and again. Her pretty face was sometimes red and sometimes pale. Tears rolled down from her beautiful eyes. She cried until she was out of breath and trembling all over. Seeing this, Jiang Tian's heart was stung. Nie Feng didn't know that the Grim Reaper was approaching. His face was full of ridicule. Don't worry, she's better off with you. I heard that you still owe her money. If she follows me, she gets 2 million a year. Thank you for your previous training. I think her work should be good. Before his voice fell, Jiang Tian suddenly moved. With a loud bang, everyone's eyes blurred. Nie Feng disappeared from where he was. Like a rag doll, he smashed the window and flew 7 or 8 meters away, landing in the lotus pond in the courtyard. Blood quickly oozed out from his body, dyeing the pond a glaring scarlet. Damn, is he still human? Zhen Shuai felt a chill from the bottom of his feet to the top of his head. His whole body trembled. Ouyang Bin was stunned for a moment, then ran out of the door. He held Nie Feng, who was still breathing, and shouted, "Quick, call an ambulance." Huang Linger suddenly raised her head and looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. Her heart throbbed. He actually attacked for me. Damn, you dare to hit young Master Nie. You're crazy. Chop him up and feed him to the dogs. Don't let the woman go. More than a dozen thugs rushed up with sticks in their hands. Jiang Tian took the opportunity to pull Huang Linger behind him to protect her. He blocked the incoming iron stick, grabbed the opponent's wrist, and blocked the other steel pipe. He raised his knee and hit the kid's lower abdomen. He said coldly, "You really don't know what's good for you. Do you want to die?" He grabbed the steel pipe and pulled it out with a woo sound, smashing it on the thug's head. The thug's head was broken and bleeding. He covered his head and screamed as he retreated. Seeing the bloody scene in front of her, Huang Linger screamed in fright. A thug near her took out a machete and chopped at her shoulder. Jiang Tian snorted and rushed up. At the critical moment, he actually grabbed the opponent's machete. The machete fell on Jiang Tian's palm. Originally, with Jiang Tian's cultivation, this kind of cold weapon couldn't hurt him at all. However, he suddenly had an idea and dispersed the true essence in his palm. Suddenly, the sharp blade cut his palm and blood flowed along the blade. The thug was scared out of his wits by Jiang Tian's strength. He originally only waved the machete to scare people and used Huang Linger to threaten Jiang Tian. He had no intention of hurting her. Who would have thought that Jiang Tian would really risk everything to block the machete? This courage was really frightening. Get lost! Jiang Tian shouted in a low voice. His bleeding left hand suddenly increased the strength and broke the bright machete in two. Everyone was shocked by Jiang Tian's strength. The thug leader was even more regretful. No wonder this brat dared to attack young Master Nie. It turned out that young Master Nie was a master of a generation. There was a scream in his ears. It was Jiang Tian kicking the thug who wielded the machete out of the door. Jiang Tian coldly threw down the bloody half of the machete. His beast-like fierce eyes stared at the thug leader whose face was covered with blood. The thug leader was so scared that his legs went soft. He pulled several men back and shouted, "Boy, don't go if you have the guts. I'll call young Master Chang." At this time, the entire club was alarmed and in a mess. Some people came out of the box to watch and ask questions. Some people called the police and ambulance. Some people wanted bandages to bandage their wounds. Some people cursed. Some people screamed. Some people pointed and talked. "Yunqin, you're here too? You're not friends with the person who hit him, are you?" A young master walked along the corridor with a cigar in his mouth. He looked at Nie Feng, who was carried to the edge of the lotus pond with his head hanging down. He then looked at Mu Yunqing with a dignified face. "Young Master Long, I know him. He was originally in Qixia County. We were in the same courtyard." Mu Yunqing was anxious and uneasy. She knew that Jiang Tian had made a big trouble today. She hesitated to come forward and mediate. Your friend's temper is quite big. He even dared to hit young Master Nye. He's in trouble. Young Master Chang is also here. The person who spoke was called Ho Longbo. In Jinling City, he was a second or third class young master. His family was involved in the automobile trade. His natural disposition was romantic. He raised a group of orioles and swallows. It could be said that he had a harem of 3,000 beauties. Which young Master Chang are you talking about? Yu Chang? Just as Mu Yunqing was frightened, suddenly, a faint voice came over. You know young Master Chang? Young Master Long looked at Jiang Tian, who asked and was slightly surprised. This boy is really getting more and more useless. I already reminded him to stay away from the Nye family's trash. Jiang Tian shook his head in disappointment. Let him come to see me. See if I don't scare him. Boy, you'd better be careful with your words. Young Master Chang is not someone you can afford to offend. Young Master Long's eyes narrowed, revealing an ominous glint. At this time, Mu Yunqing's face changed dramatically. Zhen Shuai was also trembling with fear. Oh Yongbin's face was bitter. As for Zheng Xia's female classmates, they were too scared to interrupt. Yu Chang was a first-class young master in Jinling City. He could stand side by side with Nye family's young master Nye Mingyuan. He could suppress Chen Bo, Sun Hao, and others. His father controlled hundreds of thousands of police forces in the province. Ordinary people couldn't easily provoke him. It could be said that if he moved his mouth, Jiang Tian would die an unnatural death this time. Young Master Long, can you give me face and help me persuade young Master Chang? Mu Yunqing hesitated for a moment, but still opened her mouth. Yunqing give you face? Young Master Long smiled, and then his face suddenly became gloomy. You're not deep enough in the circle of young masters. I'm also giving you face and reminding you not to get involved in this muddy water. Believe it or not, with just one word from young Master Chang, you won't be able to survive in Jinling City. After saying this sentence, young Master Long left Mu Yunqing, whose face changed dramatically, and walked away. Forget it, Sister Mu, this kid is a troublemaker. Don't pay attention to him. His life and death today has nothing to do with us. Zheng Xia walked to Mu Yunqing's side and softly persuaded. Everyone, keep your eyes open and be careful with your mouth. When young Master Chang comes over, don't go up to plead for Jiang Tian. Oh Yangbin also reminded everyone. Mu Yunqing hesitated for a moment, and finally sighed softly and turned her head to the side. For a time, except for Zhen Shuai, all the children of the courtyard withdrew from the circle and drew a clear line with Jiang Tian, watching from the sidelines. Jiang Tian, when young Master Chang or Nye family comes over, you apologize to him. I'll pay for the medical expenses. Zhen Shuai advised earnestly. Endure for a while and calm the wind, and waves will be calm. If you fight with them, there won't be any good results. Don't worry, it's okay. Jiang Tian still sat there calmly, picked up the teacup and sipped. He's crazy. Seeing this, Zheng Xia and several classmates looked at Jiang Tian with contempt, as if looking at a fool. He thinks that his father is a county magistrate, but he doesn't know that in the eyes of a top young master like Yu Chang, he's nothing. Oh Yangbin was even more disdainful and snorted, thinking that Jiang Tian was overestimating himself. Huang Linger came back to her senses and reached out to hold Jiang Tian's bleeding palm. She said distressingly, "Your hand is still bleeding, let me see." Jiang Tian smiled indifferently, and his face showed a heart-moving determination. His left hand was cut across the palm by the blade, and the blood was still flowing out. In fact, he deliberately got injured. This was a trick. He wanted to use this to break the deadlock between Huang Linger and him. But Huang Linger's pretty face was so nervous that there was no blood. Her beautiful eyes rippled with intoxicating tears. No, I must go to the hospital immediately. I may need a few stitches. Chapter 228. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and said, "You're exaggerating. The wound isn't deep. I have some medicinal powder. It'll be fine after I apply some." Jiang Tian took out a bottle of medicinal powder and sprinkled it on the wound. Huang Linger looked around, and finally tore off a piece of her skirt and helped Jiang Tian bandage it. Looking at Jiang Tian's left hand that was wrapped like a dumpling, Huang Linger felt an indescribable sadness in her heart. If it weren't for her, Jiang Tian wouldn't be injured. Her mind kept replaying the scene just now. Jiang Tian rushed up recklessly and blocked the opponent's blade with his hand. Her eyes couldn't help but turn red. Jiang Tian saw the subtle changes in Huang Linger's expression and said with a smile, "Don't look at me with such grateful eyes. What I owed you in the past, we're even now." "Why are we even?" Who would have thought that when Huang Linger heard this, 2 sparkling teardrops slid down her cheeks. Seeing this, Jiang Tian couldn't help but panic. "I was just joking. Don't take it seriously. I really didn't mean that." For a moment, his heart was in a mess. Previously, Jiang Tian had tried to erase all the memories of him in her mind, but he didn't succeed. The emotional wound was too deep, the roots of love were too deep, and the resentment was too heavy. Jiang Tian hoped to heal her emotional wound, but the feelings between men and women were very delicate. If he wasn't careful, Huang Linger might fall into the trap of love again. Now it seemed that there was a trend. Huang Linger gently held Jiang Tian's injured left hand with tears in her eyes. "Does it hurt?" Jiang Tian slowly shook his head. Huang Linger clasped Jiang Tian's injured left hand in her palms and said softly, "Promise me one thing. No matter what, you have to cherish yourself." Jiang Tian looked at Huang Linger's tearful eyes and his heart slightly rippled. But the next moment he calmed down. He nodded lightly. "I promise you." This scene made Mu Yunqing even more disappointed with Jiang Tian. "You're still in the mood to drink tea and flirt with girls at a time like this?" Mu Yunqing held the phone in her hand and hesitated in her heart. Should she call her boyfriend for help? But in the end, she shook her head and rejected it. She had just come into contact with the other party, and she was making progress step by step, deliberately creating a high-end image of herself. She wanted to hang this rich husband in her hands, and finally marry into a rich family and soar into the sky. However, if he were to find out that he had such a good-for-nothing friend like Jiang Tian, who was even causing trouble because of a little girl's jealousy, then the cold, arrogant, and high-end image that he had painstakingly created would be destroyed in an instant. Right at this moment, an arrogant and despotic voice sounded. "I heard that someone said that he wanted to scare me to the ground? Where is he?" "Master Chang is here." Chang. Everyone turned around to look, and they couldn't help but go silent like cicadas in winter, and all of them retreated successively to open up a path. Yu Chang's face was red from drinking, and his body reeked of alcohol. Surrounded by several young masters, he quickly walked over. Yu Chang had been very depressed these days. On the day of Jiang Tian's birthday, he had given Jiang Tian a generous gift, but the other party had returned it. Tang Xiaoze and Bai Qiufei also said that his gift was too bad and simply couldn't enter Master Kang's eyes. The matter of him offending Jiang Tian was not over yet. Even Gui Yinlin didn't want to pay attention to him. This made him unable to eat or sleep in peace every day. What should he do if he offended this old monster? That's right, in his eyes, Jiang Tian was an old monster. He was only in his 20s, but he could suppress Tang Xiaoze and Bai Qiufei, this kind of rich and powerful young masters, and make Chao Shixiang, this kind of big shot, treat him with courtesy. If he wasn't a monster, then what was he? He's either possessed by a demon, or he's the reincarnation of an immortal. Regarding this, Yu Chang became more and more certain. "Brat, were you the one who insulted me just now?" Yu Chang would come here every day to drink until he was dead drunk, otherwise he wouldn't be able to sleep at night. The alcohol rushed to his head, and he arrived behind Jiang Tian, slamming the table and shouting, "Do you want to die?" But suddenly he saw Jiang Tian's face clearly, and couldn't help but be scared out of his wits, his entire body becoming dumb like a wooden chicken. "Young Master Chang, I'm sorry, he drank too much today and spoke nonsense, please don't take it to heart." Zhen Shuai gathered his courage and stepped forward, continuously bowing with his hands clasped in front, speaking good words for Jiang Tian. "Please let him go, we will also pay for Nie Feng's medical expenses. You can say however much you want." Jiang Tian, quickly apologized to young Master Chang. At this time, everyone was looking at Jiang Tian, thinking that Jiang Tian would go with the flow, lower his head and admit defeat. Even Mu Yunqing didn't think that Jiang Tian had the courage to persist to the end. Unexpectedly, Yu Chang's legs went soft, the soles of his feet slipped, and he fell to the ground like a toad. Young Master Chang, what's wrong with you? Ouyang Bin, Ho Longbo, and the others came forward to support him. Am I so terrible? Jiang Tian laughed involuntarily. It could be said that he had never shown his real strength in front of Yu Chang. Who knew that Yu Chang, the son of an official, really knew what it meant for a top nobleman like Chao Shixiang to bow his head to Jiang Tian. The shock and horror of Jiang Tian was 10 times stronger than the average person. It was simply shocking. Jiang, Master Kong, I really didn't know it was you, otherwise I wouldn't dare to come. Yu Chang shrank like a quail, trembling all over, looking pitiful, and his smile became exceptionally stiff. Everyone was stunned and couldn't believe it. What's going on? Jiang Tian, an abandoned son of the Jiang family, actually scared young Master Chang like this? Ouyang Bin was flabbergasted and fiercely pinched his thigh. Am I seeing things? Zheng Xia was shocked and her scalp tingled. What's going on? Is young Master Chang really scared by him? Zhen Shuai was also stunned, the smile on his face stiffened, and he looked at Jiang Tian in disbelief. Is he not bragging? Did he really kill Sun Hao? Even Mu Yunqing couldn't keep calm, and stormy waves were set off in her heart. What else is he hiding? Even if he is the crown prince of the Medicine King group, it's absolutely impossible to suppress Yu Chang. What's going on? Yu Chang, the Nie family will be finished sooner or later, don't get too close to them. Jiang Tian sipped his tea and said lightly, don't you know the truth that a gentleman doesn't stand under a dangerous wall? I understand. I didn't want to stand up for him, but I heard that someone was scolding me, so I came over. Who knew it was you, old man? It's my honor to be scolded by you. Yu Chang's pale face became even paler, cold sweat rolled down, and he couldn't wipe it clean. Well, I hit him today because Nie Feng forced my friend. If the police come, you have to say something fair. Jiang Tian's tone was indifferent. Don't worry, Master Kong, this is a small matter, I can handle it. It's just like playing around. Yu Chang patted his chest loudly. Well, I still have injuries on my hand, so I'll go first. Jiang Tian stood up and left with Huang Linger. Jiangtan, what's the matter with you? You scared Yu Chang? Zhen Shuai followed and asked with an excited face. My mother took over the Medicine King group, probably because he was afraid of the Jiang family's power. Jiang Tian casually made up a reason. He was too lazy to say more. Some truths, even if you say it, the other party will think you're bragging. Jiang Tian's grandfather was the deputy director of the small imperial medical hall, so it's possible that he knows several provincial leaders. It turns out that Aunt Xianqing is in control of the Jiang family. Jiang Tian is the crown prince of the Medicine King group. All of them nodded in agreement, and the way they looked at Jiang Tian was different from before. Jiang Tian, I'm sorry, you know, I like to joke. Zheng Xia regretted it even more. Now that Jiang Tian is the crown prince of the Medicine King group, how can Ouyang Bin compare? Unfortunately, she had eyes but failed to see and missed such a good opportunity. This is the advantage of power. It can even suppress Yu Chang to bow his head and admit defeat. Even Mu Yunqing has a feeling of having her eyes opened. At this moment, her heart was even more determined. This time, I must get that young master of Yangcheng. Yes, in her opinion, even if Jiang Tian is the crown prince of the Medicine King group, compared to her boyfriend, he is still slightly inferior. When Jiang Tian and the others walked out of the door, a pretty figure appeared at the entrance of the club, looking at Jiang Tian from a distance. Is she Master Kong? Hehe, no wonder the Medicine King group is so high-profile recently. Immediately, her beautiful eyes rippled with a faint murderous intent. With a voice that only she can hear, she said in a low and stern voice, but a mountain can't have two tigers. Jinling is my Murong family's world. Zhen Shuai drove the car, accompanying Jiang Tian to send Huang Linger home. Huang Zhihui saw Jiang Tian and his daughter come in together, slightly surprised, and smiled. Ling, how did you meet Professor Jiang? Oh, I went out to eat tonight and just happened to meet Professor Jiang. We talked about the past. Huang Linger whispered. Past? You knew Professor Jiang before? Huang Zhihui gave up his seat and poured a cup of tea for Jiang Tian. He didn't dare to believe it. Speaking of which, Professor Jiang is my senior. At that time, he was in love with a girl in my class, but later broke up. When I heard his lecture, I felt that it was the case. Today, I asked him and it was indeed the case. Huang Linger whispered. Jiang Tian lamented in his heart. This girl is a natural-born liar. She can make up such a lie in the blink of an eye. What a coincidence. Huang Zhihui didn't know about the emotional entanglement between his daughter and Jiang Tian, so he asked in astonishment. Yeah, Jiang Tian awkwardly smiled. When I met Huang Linger, I wanted to ask her about her situation. In short, it's a very embarrassing past. I didn't expect Huang Linger to know me. I didn't recognize her even after a few years. Professor Jiang, have some tea. I'll have to trouble you to send this damn girl back. Huang Zhihui saw that the tea was ready and handed it to Jiang Tian. Jiang Tian quickly thanked him and took it with both hands. At this moment, Huang Linger sweetly smiled. Her beautiful eyes suddenly flashed. Professor Jiang, do you still see her as your girlfriend? Chapter 229. Jiang Tian's hand trembled and the tea spilled on the floor. He quickly changed the topic and stood up to mop the floor. He said apologetically, "Look at me, I'm so clumsy." After Jiang Tian left, Huang Zhihui hesitated for a long time before he sighed. Linger, the female classmate you just mentioned, is it you? Huang Linger stood in front of the window. She didn't expect her father to see through her thoughts. She was a little flustered and couldn't help but want to cry. She silently watched Jiang Tian and Zhen Shuai drive away. Although Huang Zhihui was obsessed with academics, he wasn't a bookworm. Some time ago, Huang Linger splashed water on Jiang Tian whenever she saw him. After Jiang Tian left, she even squatted in a corner and cried. That day when they came to apologize, they were pulled by Jiang Tian to talk. If he couldn't figure out something, then he would have lived for decades in vain. Have you been bullied by him? The veins on Huang Zhihui's forehead popped out. No, Huang Linger shook her head. Her sadness burst out like a dam bursting. She couldn't control her tears no matter how hard she tried. Then let's end the collaboration with the laboratory. Huang Zhihui gritted his teeth and said, I don't want you to be wronged. You don't have to worry about me. Even without his help at home, I can still get through it. Oh, did? Huang Linger choked with sobs. Her face was full of tears. She wiped her tears and said with a trembling but firm voice, I just didn't understand why I broke up with him. Now I understand. Maybe I'm too willful, not cute enough, not sensible enough, so he broke up with me. I'm not good enough for him. He didn't find Dad because of me, but because he valued Dad's talent. Huang Zhihui began to think that his daughter and Jiang Tian were just ordinary emotional entanglements. He felt a little better. Who hasn't been hurt in love when they were young? Although Huang Zhihui was more protective of his daughter emotionally, he was an adult man. Of course, he knew that love hurt each other. Usually, it was hard to tell who was right and who was wrong. He didn't ask any more questions. Instead, he comforted his daughter, let the past be the past. Don't think too much. Dad, do you think Jiang Tian is a bad guy? Huang Linger wiped away her tears and asked with a confused expression. Back then, after she broke up with Jiang Tian, she had also heard of Jiang Tian's many evil deeds. Fighting, brawling, messy private life, bullying men and women, running amok, and abusing others. However, men and women who had once loved each other deeply were all like this. Even if they had confirmed 1,000 times that the other party was a cold-hearted person, they could not help but think for the other party. Perhaps there was another reason why he hurt me so much? Perhaps he had some unspeakable troubles back then. Huang Zhihui frowned and said, he was really an ignorant and incompetent hedonistic young master back then, but you've seen it for yourself these days. His divine power, his knowledge, his ambition. Perhaps he had something important to do back then, so he had no choice but to break up with you. Oh! Huang Linger responded. Huang Zhihui saw the sparkle in her eyes, and his heart instantly sank. As a man, he also understood that it was not a big flaw for a man to be fickle. He admired Jiang Tian's deep understanding of medicine and academics even more. However, he also hoped that his daughter would find a devoted and affectionate man. He immediately said solemnly, "But the past is the past. I heard that he's married. Don't think about it anymore." Nie Zhonghai had been very depressed recently. He had long had his eyes on the Fulong mountain plot of land and wanted to develop it into a large villa complex. It could be said to be a profitable business with little capital. Nie Zhonghai and the head of the Sun family, Sun Lingyun, were brothers-in-law. The Sun family controlled the Clear Sky Society, and the Nie family also had a large share of it. With the two families working together and the Clear Sky Society as a deterrent, the other real estate moguls did not dare to come and snatch this fat piece of meat. Therefore, the Fulong mountain plot of land failed to be auctioned off time and time again. As a tycoon, Nie Zhonghai, who was known as Nie Banqing, was very ambitious. His goal was to force the Jinling government to continuously lower the auction price and finally obtain this plot of land at an extremely low price. In fact, he was only halfway there. The Jinling government had no choice but to continuously lower the price of this plot of land until it reached his expectations of 10,000 yuan per square meter. However, the depressing thing was that the Medicine King Corporation suddenly appeared out of nowhere and bought this plot of land. Nie Zhonghai was caught off guard. He really could not understand how the Jiang family, which was on the verge of death, suddenly became lively again. Were they injected with chicken blood? Where did the money come from? In the study, a dim yellow light shone down. Nie Zhonghai leaned against the leather sofa with a big cigar in his mouth. His face was gloomy and there was some resentment in his eyes. He felt that he had become the biggest joke in Jinling. He had planned for 5 years and spent a lot of effort, but in the end, it was all for someone else. Suddenly, the study door was pushed open. His eldest son, Nie Mingyuan, walked in and said softly, "Father, the source of the funds has been investigated." "Who is it?" "Yi Gufeng from Jiangbei. In addition, there's also the Jiang family supported by Tang Shaozi from Yangqing, by Qiu Fei, and Iron Bright Emperor." What? Nie Zhonghai could not believe it. The Jiang family was a declining family. They were already half dead after being attacked by him, the Chen family, and the Sun family. How could they have a relationship with such a powerful force? However, he believed in his son's ability. Nie Mingyuan was only in his 30s, but he was already a veteran. He was well-connected and meticulous. He had established his influence in the government and many large families. His intelligence was not wrong. "That's not possible." Nie Zhonghai furrowed his brows and said, "Could it be that the Jiang family has become their agent? These days, the forces of Lingnan have been making a lot of moves in Jinling. They are as powerful as a dragon." "Dad, you're mistaken." Nie Mingyuan's hair was clean and his body was in good shape. His handsome face was calm and collected, giving people a sense of wisdom and shrewdness. "According to my investigation, Jiang Tian is very famous in Linzhou and even the entire Lingnan city. You can say that he is the ruler of Lingnan city." "That's impossible." "Jiang Tian? Do you think I don't know? He is as useless as your brother Nie Feng." Nie Zhonghai shook his head and said with certainty, "He's not even as good as Feng. He only knows how to fight and cause trouble. He even beat up the young master of Yanjing who broke off the engagement and was kicked out of Jinling by the Jiang family's old man." "Dad, look at this video. I bought it from a tycoon in Linzhou for 30 million. Nie Mingyuan set up the projector. Soon, a video appeared on the screen. It was the video of Jiang Tian killing Xing Shanhu on the micro-whale princess. Although the video was not very clear and was shaking violently, one could still see some of Jiang Tian's strength. After watching it, Nie Zhonghai's face was covered in cold sweat. After a long silence, he said, "He should be a legendary martial artist." "He should be." Nie Mingyuan's face also became serious. "He killed Mo Haoxiong and Wei Shuofeng in Lingnan City. Now, the entire Lingnan City is under his control. Moreover, this man is sinister and cunning. He repeatedly said that the Medicine King Group's financial chain was tight. I was fooled by him. This kid is so terrifying. Nie Zhonghai sucked in a breath of cold air. His eyes flickered with a trace of ferocity as he said coldly, "If he takes revenge, it will be unstoppable." Yes, Sun Hao and Chen Bo died mysteriously. I suspect that this man is behind it. Nie Mingyuan said, "If he knows that the Sun family and the Chen family suppressed him under our instructions, I'm afraid that he will come for revenge." That's not possible. Nie Zhonghai said, "This operation against the Jiang family is very secretive. Other than the big boss behind the scenes, only I, the two family heads of the Chen family, Sun family, and the four of us know about it. Sun Hao and Chen Bo are just following orders. They don't know about each other's actions. Jiang Tian can't even ask. Anyway, I think we have to speed up the operation against the Jiang family." Nie Mingyuan's eyes were sharp and cold. He said, "If we let them grow, we will be nurturing a tiger." Well, that makes sense. Nie Zhonghai nodded. But how should we deal with the Jiang family? Nie Mingyuan smiled and said, "Capture the leader first. Now, the real problem for us in the Jiang family is Jiang Tian." Nie Zhonghai nodded. "The target is right, but which expert should we ask for help?" "Father, I heard that martial artists are divided into different levels of cultivation. Iron body means that they are not afraid of cold weapons. Internal force means that they can even dodge bullets, but they may not be able to dodge continuous shots. While transcendent state means that they can resist hot weapons." Nie Mingyuan said, "We can't figure out Jiang Tian's cultivation now. The top priority should be to let the Qingyun Society and the Sun family test him." "Well, the Sun family will take the lead. Let's watch the battle first." Nie Zhonghai nodded with satisfaction. If Jiang Tian only has iron body or internal force, then we don't have to do anything. The Qingyun Society can kill him. They have guns. But judging from the information in the video, Jiang Tian should be a transcendent state cultivator. This kind of person is called a grandmaster in the martial arts world and is very difficult to deal with. What if he really is a transcendent state cultivator? Nie Mingyuan asked with a serious face. If he really is a transcendent state cultivator, Nie Zhonghai's face showed a hint of fear. After a long silence, he sighed and said, "I'm afraid we can only ask for help from that big shot." "Are you talking about the martial arts elder Li Chunfeng?" Nie Mingyuan was shocked and asked. "That's right. I spent a lot of effort to send your aunt to Li Chunfeng." Nodding his head, a smug expression appeared on Nie Zhonghai's face as he sighed. Ever since the emergence of nuclear weapons in the 1960s, all the martial arts experts went into hibernation, and Wudang sect became a semi-hidden sect that no one knows about. But Wudang is very powerful. It alone can suppress the entire Huaxia Long formation. Li Chunfeng is also one of the four elders of Wudang. As far as I know, his strength is comparable to Yi Zhantian. "Father, this plan of yours is simply too perfect. Auntie must be very powerful now, right?" Nie Mingyuan couldn't help but think of that sweet and charming smiling face, that graceful and sexy figure, and his heart rippled. She has always been in seclusion. I only talked to her once 3 years ago. At that time, she had already reached the peak of transcendent state. Nie Zhonghai's face showed a hint of arrogance as a cold light flashed in his eyes. Many people thought that the Nie family was just an ordinary family. However, since the Nie family had dominated the Jin city for so many years, they must have had some powerful backing. Although the Nie family was a secular family, they had the support of the Wudang sect. Otherwise, the Nie family would have fallen apart a long time ago. However, the Wudang sect was beyond the reach of worldly affairs. Therefore, Nie Zhonghai didn't use this connection under normal circumstances. However, if he asked the Wudang sect to deal with Jiang Tian, he would be killed in a matter of minutes. Chapter 230. The phone on the desk suddenly rang, startling the two people who were plotting. Nie Zhonghai picked it up and his face suddenly changed. He stood up and said, "What?" Nie Feng was injured by Jiang Tian. Nie Zhonghai rushed to Jinling First People's Hospital. Seeing Nie Feng's situation, Nie Zhanghai's heart ached. He was so angry that he almost exploded on the spot. Young Master Nie's situation isn't optimistic. 5 of his ribs were broken. We did our best to restore them. It's not a big problem. The problem is that young Master Nie's penis was also broken. We searched his clothes and the site of the incident for a long time, but we only found some pieces of flesh. We can't piece them back together. This may affect young Master Nie's sexual function and fertility. I'm afraid he won't be able to do it in the future. Despair and anger completely shrouded his body and mind. Nie Zhanghai didn't seem to hear the doctor's report. It was as if the whole world disappeared. All that was left in his eyes was his dying son lying on the hospital bed. Nie Zhanghai's head was dizzy and he couldn't stand steadily. Fortunately, Nie Mingyuan supported him in time. "Dad, my condolences." Nie Zhanghai finally calmed down. He wiped his tears and walked into the ward. Looking at his son who was wearing an oxygen mask, he smiled and said, "Xiao Feng, rest assured. The doctor said you'll be fine. You'll get better." "Dad, don't lie to me." Nie Feng looked at the ceiling in despair and emptiness. Tears rolled down his temples as he weakly said, "I know. My penis is gone. I've become a eunuch. In the future, I can't fuck women anymore. I can't have children either." Nie Zhanghai was angry. Why didn't these doctors know to keep the news secret? What if Nie Feng took it too hard and committed suicide? "Dad." Nie Feng choked. "Hey." Nie Zhanghai quickly responded. "Don't worry, I won't take it too hard. I'll take revenge. I'll ruthlessly take revenge. I'll make Jiang Tian suffer a fate worse than death. I'll tear him into pieces. I'll find hundreds of strong men to rape all the women in the Jiang family." Nie Feng's originally dim eyes gradually lit up. It was a fierce light, like a fierce tiger or wolf that was about to devour a person. Nie Zhanghai felt a chill in his heart. "Little brother, don't worry." Nie Mingyuan's eyes reddened as he said with a murderous look, "We can't just let this go. Dad and I will definitely avenge you. You don't have to worry." In the eyes of outsiders, Nie Feng was just a scoundrel young master. There were even rumors that he had fallen out with his brothers because of power struggles. However, the Nie family knew that Nie Feng and Nie Mingyuan were closer than ordinary brothers. They lost their mother when they were young and lived on the streets. They relied on stealing and helping each other to grow up. However, after the Nie family grew stronger, Nie Feng, on the other hand, single-handedly took over all of the Nie family's shady businesses. He committed all sorts of crimes, such as murder, robbery, kidnapping, and extortion, and became Nie Mingyuan's right-hand man. "When Jiang Tian is killed, I must be there. I want to see him die with my own eyes." Nie Feng spoke word by word with monstrous hatred. At this moment, the secretary walked in and said in a low voice, "Miss Su Ruoqing from the Su family is here to visit young Master Nie. Please come in." Nie Zhanghai's face turned cold when he heard this name. He shouldn't be negligent and had already gone to the door to welcome her. The Su family of Jinling had a very mysterious background. They didn't seem to be conspicuous, but they controlled more than half of the underground world of Jinling. They could suppress the Green Cloud Society, and the Su family had stood for hundreds of years without falling. However, Nie Zhanghai knew clearly that the Su family was a legitimate martial arts family. Their family head, Su Jinlei, was rumored to have reached the transcendent state. However, he had been in seclusion for years. He must have improved his cultivation. How could he offend such a transcendent power? "Uncle Nie." Su Ruoqing saluted politely as soon as she entered the door. She was about 30 years old. She had a beautiful face, a voluptuous chest, a slender waist, and a perky butt. She was tall and exquisite and had a seductive temperament. If she walked on the street, she would definitely make men turn their heads. However, when she blinked, her eyes burst with light and filled with an extremely faint but awe-inspiring murderous aura. Even Nie Zhanghai, the old fox, had to be cautious. After a few simple greetings, Su Ruoqing said softly, "I think the Nie family has also heard the news that Jiang Tian is a martial arts master." "Yes, Miss Su, have you also heard of it?" Nie Zhonghai also hoped to get some information about Jiang Tian from Su Ruoqing. This person has made a name for himself in Lingnan. How can I not know? Su Ruoqing said with a faint smile. Nie Zhonghai's heart sank. It seemed that those rumors were true. Su Ruoqing said indifferently, "It's just that I think the legend about Jiang Tian might be exaggerated. Or perhaps his cultivation has already dropped." How can you tell that his cultivation has decreased? Nie Zhonghai frowned. It's too simple. Su Ruoqing said with some disdain. Tonight, I saw with my own eyes at the Shisha Club that his palm was cut by Nie Feng's bodyguard with a knife. A person at the peak of iron body is not afraid of cold weapons, but Jiang Tian was injured. This is enough to explain everything. His cultivation can decrease? How is that possible? The father and son of the Nie family couldn't believe it. Of course, being injured, poisoned, or using improper methods to cultivate can cause a decrease in one's cultivation. Su Ruoqing smiled faintly, which had a charm to it. It is said that Jiang Tian defeated many masters in the martial arts world and won every battle. However, there is no such thing as absolute suppression in a fight between martial artists. He must have been injured. The father and son of the Nie family were skeptical. Su Ruoqing's cheeks rippled with beautiful dimples. She smiled faintly and said, "Uncle Nie, it is said that Jiang Tian's medical skills are also good. He should be able to recover in a month or two. You should take his life while he is sick. You can't hesitate anymore." "Okay, thank you for your reminder, Miss Su. I will definitely consider your suggestion carefully," Nie Zhonghai said with a fist salute. Su Ruoqing got into the Mercedes-Benz business car and drove out of the hospital. She picked up a glass of red wine from the car's fridge and took a sip. Her eyes flashed with a cold light as she smiled faintly. When Jiang Tian leads the forces of Lingnan to fight with the Nie family, Sun family, and Shen family of Jinling, and when both sides suffer, it will be the day my father comes out of seclusion. At that time, the Su family will brazenly draw their swords and unite Jinling. Sunday, June 1, 2008. However, the staff of the laboratory were not resting. They nervously clustered around Jiang Tian as they stood in the laboratory on the 5th floor of the Jinling Medical University's Science and Technology building. They were waiting for the first batch of pills to come out. "I don't know if it will work." Huang Zhihui's forehead was covered in sweat. He was so nervous that his face was pale. "Professor Huang, don't worry. With Professor Zhang's guidance, these reactor cauldrons will definitely work." Lin Manong was also nervous, but she comforted him with a sweet smile. The laboratory was more than 1,000 square meters in size and had 5 rows of production lines. Each row was made up of a dozen oddly shaped reactor cauldrons and pipes. These reactor cauldrons were the embodiment of the wisdom of Jiang Tian, Huang Zhihui, and dozens of other professors and postdocs. These 5 rows of production lines were used to produce the Black Jade Rejuvenation Pill, which was used to treat external injuries, the Rising Dragon Energy Pill, which was used to improve the body's constitution, the Small Recovery Pill, which was used to strengthen the body and cure all kinds of diseases, and the Detoxification Pill, which was used to restrain poison. It could be said that once any of these pills were brought out, it would be earth-shattering and earth-shattering. When the spiritual herbs and herbs were stuffed into the first reactor cauldron, the reactor began to roar and tremble slightly. The flames also began to burn and lick the bottom of the reactor cauldron. Then, clouds of mist rose from the reactor cauldron and condensed into a colorful liquid that flowed into the slender glass tubes. The liquid was very light at first, but it gradually condensed until it looked like a sparkling gem. In short, the principles of the spiritual cauldrons that Jiang Tian knew were applied to the materials and knowledge of physics and chemistry on Earth to create these reactor cauldrons and realize the mass production of pills. Spiritual cauldrons, or spiritual stoves for short, possessed spirituality. The spirit of the cauldron, also known as the cauldron god, could gather the energy of heaven and earth to automatically refine pills. Although these reactor cauldrons had been simplified and were made with special materials from Earth, they were not as effective as spiritual stoves. However, After being created by Jiang Tian and Huang Zhihui, they were able to turn something rotten into something miraculous. They were 70 to 80% effective, which already made Jiang Tian very satisfied. Of course, the core components of the reactor cauldrons, which Jiang Tian called furnace cores, were personally carved by Jiang Tian. Furthermore, Jiang Tian had poured his true essence into them. They could convert ordinary fire energy into spiritual energy and extract all the spiritual energy from spiritual herbs and herbs. Just the design and carving of these furnace cores took Jiang Tian 2 to 3 months. Jiang Tian believed that apart from him, there was no one else in the world who could create them. Even the world's top high-tech companies would not be able to copy them. 10 minutes later, clang, clang, clang. With a light sound, red pills fell into the vessel, emitting a delicate fragrance. Professor Jiang, please take a look at the effects. Huang Zhihui's face was bitter as he trembled, as if he was a prisoner waiting for the judge to sentence him. Okay. Jiang Tian nodded. He walked forward with a calm expression, grabbed a handful of pills, and scanned them with his divine sense. Professor Jiang, how is it? Seeing Jiang Tian's expressionless face, Huang Zhihui and Lin Manong were nervous and uneasy. Their hearts were beating like drums. Jiang Tian was silent for a moment before finally revealing a gratified smile. It's a success. These tyrant body spirit pills have 1/10 of the efficacy of the ones I personally refined. It's finally a success. Everyone cheered. Everyone was trembling with excitement. Some raised their arms and cheered. Some jumped like children. Some female researchers even shed hot tears. It had been 4 months since the establishment of the laboratory. Many days and nights had passed. Everyone had worked overtime in the office to change the design drawings. Many researchers had forgotten to eat and accompany their families because of the experiments. They had failed time and time again, and had to start from scratch again. They had fallen time and time again, wiped their tears, and got up again. They had experienced disappointment and helpless sighs, but they had clenched their fists and told themselves that they could do it. At this moment, all of those thoughts had turned into hot tears that flowed freely. It's a success? Huang Zhihui stood there in a daze, unable to believe it. Professor Huang, without your theory, our research would not have succeeded. Jiang Tian walked over and held his hand. He raised his arm and said, Chapter 231. Huang Zhihui was a little surprised. He saw a smile on Jiang Tian's face, and it was very real. Professor Huang, you have to shoulder the future of Chinese medicine. When Huang Zhihui heard Jiang Tian say this, the noise in his ears gradually disappeared, leaving only a silent scene. He saw Jiang Tian let go of his hand and slowly walk out of the laboratory with his hands behind his back. He was the only one left standing there with his arms raised high, welcoming the cheers and congratulations from all directions. Without your guidance, I wouldn't have succeeded. You are the biggest contributor. Huang Zhihui looked at Jiang Tian's back and muttered in confusion. Professor Huang, these experiments strongly prove that your theory and technology of ultramicromolecular extraction is correct. I believe that in 3 years, the Nobel Prize in Medicine will fall into your bag. Lin Manong was excited as she waved her fist vigorously. Professor Huang, you succeeded. Countless professors and scholars surrounded Huang Zhihui in the middle, clapping and cheering. They even lifted him up and threw him high up, caught him, and threw him up again. Huang Zhihui, who was thrown high up, turned his head and looked at Jiang Tian, who was gradually disappearing from the door. His solitary figure was sometimes high and sometimes low, sometimes close and sometimes far away, and the afterglow and light that enveloped him also flickered between brightness and darkness. In an instant, Huang Zhihui's face was covered in tears. That night, at the celebration banquet, Jiang Tian raised his wine glass and announced a piece of news. Everyone, from today onwards, I will no longer work at Jinling Pharmaceutical University. I have already submitted my resignation letter. In the future, my Life Science and Futurology class will be taught by Professor Huang Zhihui. In an instant, everyone was stunned. Professor Jiang, how can you leave? Huang Zhihui held Jiang Tian's hand and said excitedly, "Yes, we can't leave you." Everyone spoke out to persuade him to stay. "My ambition is not here." Jiang Tian smiled and said, "Building this laboratory was only to fulfill my mother's wish and the Jiang family's wish. Now that the laboratory is successful, my mission is complete. As for the rest, you just need to cooperate with the Medicine King Group to mass-produce the laboratory. You don't need me for this part." I didn't expect Professor Jiang to leave so soon. Everyone knew that Jiang Tian was a man of his word, so they didn't dare to persuade him anymore. However, they all sighed in disappointment. These days, they had interacted with Jiang Tian day and night, and they already knew how profound Jiang Tian's education was. It could be said that they had never seen or heard of Jiang Tian's theories before. They were completely ahead of their time. In the process of designing, experimenting, and modifying the production line, the epiphany brought to them by Jiang Tian's casual advice was even greater than what they had gained after years of research. Over the past few months, Jiang Tian's academic standards had made them look up to him with admiration. It was as if he had opened the door to a new world for them. Huang Zhihui said excitedly, "Professor Jiang, during the process of building the production line, I've completed 3 papers and passed the review of Nature's academic committee. When it's published, I will list you as the first author." "What? Passed the review of Nature? It's about to be published." Many scholars were shocked and envious. In the 19th century, there was a famous scientific group in England called the X Club. It was composed of 9 people, including Huxley. Other than the philosopher Herbert Spencer, the other 8 were members of the Royal Society. They founded Nature, and in recent years, its status in the academic world had been constantly rising. It even surpassed American Scientist. Nature had a mythical status in the academic world. Publishing an article in it was very important. Not only did it mean honor, but it also greatly helped in promotion and selection. As long as one article was published, it would be more than enough to become the principal of a key university in Huaxia. If 3 articles were published together, it would be a special topic. Basically, it would be a popular candidate for the Nobel Prize the following year. "Professor Huang, I appreciate your kindness, but it's okay. These are all burdens for me. Don't do these, I'm very annoyed." Jiang Tian gently shook his head and politely refused. Everyone couldn't believe it, but everyone could see that his eyes were exceptionally firm. He was not being polite or joking. "Professor Jiang, won't we see you again in the future?" Lin Manong asked reluctantly, her eyes slightly red. For a moment, everyone looked at Jiang Tian sadly, like a group of resentful women who had been abandoned. "Don't look at me so lovingly." Jiang Tian felt a chill run down his spine from their gazes, and he shivered. Lin Manong rolled her eyes at him. "Right, I was just about to talk about the laboratory." Jiang Tian said seriously, "Manong, you'll be the deputy director of the laboratory in the future. Don't be too proud. You'll just be Professor Huang's assistant." "Really?" Lin Manong was overjoyed. She had struck gold. There were only a few universities in Huaxia that had invested hundreds of millions in a laboratory. Back then, her mentor had been poached by a university with a laboratory that invested 7 million, and even she had been left behind. But now, she had become the deputy director of the Fersky Laboratory and had control of hundreds of millions in research funds. Moreover, her annual salary was in the hundreds of thousands. She had reached the top in a single bound. "Although I'm no longer teaching, I'll still come to the laboratory occasionally to take a look. Everyone can still see me. I hope everyone will learn something and gain something from it." After Jiang Tian toasted the last cup of wine, he prepared to leave. At that moment, his phone suddenly rang. Jiang Tian saw that it was Huang Linger calling. He picked up the phone and said hello. However, there was no sound from the other party. Just as Jiang Tian was wondering if Huang Linger had accidentally dialed the wrong number, a deep voice came from the phone. "Jiang Tian. It's you." Jiang Tian's memory was amazing. He could already tell that the voice belonged to Nye Feng. He instantly had a bad feeling. Actually, I didn't call for anything. I just wanted to let you know that I'm safe." Nie Feng's tone was still so strange that he sounded like an old eunuch. You guys eat slowly. I still have things to do. Jiang Tian raised his hand and made a "don't send me off" gesture to them. Then he quickly walked out. Where is Huang Linger? The moment he left the restaurant, Jiang Tian's voice seemed to come from the depths of hell. Cold and stern. Huang Linger? Oh, she's with me. I borrowed her phone to call you. I'll return it to her later. I'm warning you. If you dare to touch a strand of her hair, I'll let you understand what it means to be skinned alive. Jiang Tian angrily shouted. In an instant, the cement floor under Jiang Tian's feet actually cracked. The spiderweb-like crack spread out more than a meter away. It was a shocking sight. At this moment, his sleeves fluttered. A strong murderous aura spread out in all directions. Once the leaves from the trees entered this range, they were shaken into fine powder. It can be said that Jiang Tian was full of guilt toward Huang Linger. In his previous life, he had promised Huang Linger 2 million yuan as a maintenance fee, which was why she had dared to borrow Nie Feng's money to buy equipment for her father. Later on, Jiang Tian heartlessly abandoned her and did not fulfill his promise, which caused Huang Linger to fall into the abyss of debt and be consigned to eternal damnation. Jiang Tian's heartlessness caused her to suffer from depression. He broke his promise and pushed her into the vortex of debt. In short, if she did not meet Jiang Tian, she would have lived a happy and stable life. Although Jiang Tian was very loyal to Qinger and would not have any feelings for Huang Linger. But from the day he saw Huang Linger, he secretly vowed that he would protect her like a sister. He would never allow anyone to hurt her. On the other side of the phone, Nie Feng chuckled. Don't worry. I'm just chatting with her about returning the money. I'll let her talk to you. Jiang Tian turned the phone to the loudest. But after listening for a while, he could only hear a rustling sound. He could not hear any movement from the other side. But a crisp sound suddenly sounded. Immediately after, Nie Feng's threatening voice came from the other side of the phone. Speak, you smelly bitch. However, after his voice fell, there was still no sound from the other side of the phone. It was as if Nie Feng was talking to the air. Jiang Tian waited for a while, but still did not hear any movement. But then there was a pa sound from the other side of the phone. I'm fucking telling you to speak. Nie Feng's fierce voice sounded again. The more Jiang Tian listened, the more he felt that something was wrong. He quickly shouted on the phone, Linger? Huang Linger, are you okay? On the other side of the phone, Huang Linger was sitting on the sofa. Her hands were tied behind her back. Her cheeks were red and swollen from the beating. Blood kept flowing from the corner of her mouth. The protective jade talisman on her wrist had been broken. This jade talisman had taken many beatings and injuries for her. If not for these protective jade talismans, she might have died. Originally, Nie Feng wanted to kill Huang Linger first and then kill Jiang Tian. But after seeing this, he simply called Jiang Tian over to kill them together. Behind Nie Feng stood a row of burly men. Each of them looked ferocious. Nie Feng kept beating and threatening her to talk to Jiang Tian. But Huang Linger just sat there calmly and firmly. No matter how Nie Feng beat her, she did not make a sound. Fuck, I really admire you, you little bitch. You can even sell your body for affection. How cheap are you? Speak, let him come and save you. Otherwise, I'll kill you immediately. Nie Feng used all his strength to pull Huang Linger's hair and fiercely threatened her. Huang Linger's feet were fixed to the sofa legs. She could not move. A strand of her hair was pulled down by Nie Feng. Huang Linger finally let out a scream. Perhaps realizing that her voice was heard by Jiang Tian, Huang Linger did not force herself. She opened her mouth and shouted, Jiang Tian, don't come. They have guns. Call the police. Call the police. Nie Feng slapped Huang Linger's face and angrily said, Smelly bitch, you still dare to play tricks. Seal her mouth with tape. Jiang Tian, you also know that calling the police is useless. Nie Feng no longer paid attention to Huang Linger. He said to the phone in a strange tone, My Nie family has thousands of men of sacrifice. If the police catch me, I can casually find someone to take the blame. But when the police come, she will definitely die. Don't worry, I'll go alone. Jiang Tian's eyes suddenly turned cold. His feet stomped on the ground. Like an angry dragon, he shot into the sky and jumped to the roof of a building. Then his figure was like an arrow, carrying an incomparably fierce killing intent. He flew over the city's sky and burst into the distance. Chapter 232. Damn it, this kid won't come, right? I haven't even said where we are, and he hung up the phone. Nie Feng scolded. Huang Linger's heart sank, her nose felt sour, and there were sparkling tears gathering in her eyes. He probably won't come, right? Yes, I heard that his wife is very capable and is the chairman of the Zhao Pharmaceutical Company. She is beautiful, considerate, and sensible. Why would he care about me? I'm just a plaything he had on a whim. She didn't want Jiang Tian to come, but for some reason, she was very disappointed when she found out that Jiang Tian really wasn't coming. Coward! Nie Feng shook his head and walked to the window with a depressed face. He looked at the terrain outside and thought about his arrangements. Nie Feng was indeed worthy of being in the Qingyun society for a few years. He chose a good place to kill people and throw away corpses. This was a famous unfinished building in the Jinling Economic Development Zone. The main body of the building was half repaired, but the outer wall and other projects were not done. The owner of this factory was originally a Hong Kong man. He planned to build a chip factory, but for some reason, the factory was not built. The office building was only half built, and he ran away. Maybe in this era, chips really didn't make money in Huaxia. Because it had been deserted for 3 or 4 years, this factory was overgrown with weeds, wild dogs and cats ran everywhere, and the office building looked more and more decadent. A year ago, someone jumped off a building and committed suicide in this place. There were all kinds of urban legends about ghosts, so ordinary people didn't have the courage to step in. Kill 1 or 2 people, pour gasoline on them, and destroy the corpses. The police wouldn't find out at all. In fact, Nie Feng had been waiting for his father and brother to take revenge on Jiang Tian. But after waiting for 3 months, they didn't make a move, so he decided to do it himself. Jiang Tian's whereabouts were mysterious, and it was difficult to find out where he lived. When he was at the Jinling Pharmaceutical University, he always appeared in groups. In for a penny, in for a pound, he might as well kidnap Huang Linger, who had a close relationship with Jiang Tian, to lure the snake out of its hole. Little Feng, this little girl's skin is really tasty. After all, she was exploited by Jiang Tian when they were in university. Sun Lingyu was in his 40s. He was tall, but there was a scar on his face that looked like an earthworm. It ran diagonally from his left eyebrow to his right cheek, giving him a fierce aura. He turned his head to look at Huang Linger, who was sitting on the sofa. His eyes were burning with greed as he grinned. I, Sun Laosen, have played with so many college students over the years, but I have never seen such a beautiful one. I really want to have a taste of him. Come on, third master. If you want to play, you can do whatever you want after we get rid of Jiang Tian. Don't get in the way of business. Nie Feng shook his head and then looked at Huang Linger strangely. This girl is strange. Yes, before this, their subordinates also wanted to beat and violate Huang Linger several times, but they were all inexplicably sent flying. One of them even had a broken rib. Later, he gradually recovered, but this made Nie Feng puzzled. What's so great about that Jiang Tian? I know him. He's just a trash. Sun Lingyu said disdainfully. I remember that about 5 or 6 years ago, when he was still in university, I met him at a bar in Xindi. That female boss was quite coquettish. You also know that I had her for a while. Jiang Tian, this reckless guy, was flirting with her. I just happened to go over and gave him 3 big slaps. He didn't even dare to fart and silently left. Come on. That was back then. Nie Feng rolled his eyes at him and said with furrowed brows, this Jiang Tian is also very strange. That day at the Shisha Juniors Clubhouse, I was sent flying over 8 meters with a kick from him, and several of my ribs were broken. And several of my subordinates were not his match. This guy is definitely a martial artist. Martial artist? No matter how strong he is, Can he be stronger than a pistol? Even if he can block a pistol, can he block a Barrett? Sun Lingyu smiled proudly. Barrett, what's the concept? Hee, I played with it once. With one shot, half of a person's bones would be shattered. Even if his whole body was made of iron, how many nails could he crush? Although according to Su Ruoqing, Jiang Tian's cultivation had dropped greatly, Nie Feng was not a reckless person. He still made the most thorough preparations. This time, he asked the current president of the Qingyun Association, Sun Hao's uncle, Sun Lingyu, the younger brother of the Sun family's patriarch, Sun Lingyun, to personally help. Last winter, Sun Hao had mysteriously disappeared. According to the secretary, that night, Sun Hao wanted to see the son of Shixia Pharmaceutical Factory's Zhang Wanqing, Jiang Tian. But that night, he disappeared without a trace. Tang Xiaozi, who went with him that night, said that Sun Hao had been kidnapped by a group of foreigners. However, the Sun family called the police and checked the surveillance cameras. The Qingyun Association also searched the area around the Fengyi brothel, but they did not find any suspicious vehicles or people. Most importantly, the owner of the Fengyi brothel also ran away in the middle of the night and could not be contacted. Later, there was news that the Jiang family had joined forces with Tang Xiaozi and other powers in Yangqing to take the hidden Dragon Mountain land. Furthermore, they also learned from the Nie family that Jiang Tian was a martial arts expert. The Sun family were not fools. After thinking about it, they realized that Sun Hao's disappearance was most likely related to Jiang Tian. Sun Lingyun hated Jiang Tian to the bone. How could he not avenge his son's death? Therefore, he had spent a lot of money on this operation. Not only did the Qingyun Association's experts come out in full force, but they also invited 3 ace snipers from abroad, equipped with Barrett sniper rifles. They wanted to beat Jiang Tian to death. Do you know what a martial artist is? She's an existence like my aunt. Nie Feng said solemnly. I once saw her catch a bullet with her bare hands. She's like a god. A martial artist? Is really that powerful? How is that possible? Sun Lingyu couldn't believe it, his eyes filled with shock. Logically speaking, Jiang Tian definitely had this ability. But now that Jiang Tian's cultivation has declined, guns should be able to kill him. Nie Feng's eyes flashed with a cold light. He laughed sinisterly. This is also our best chance to deal with him. In short, don't let your guard down. This is a rare opportunity. We've arranged for sharpshooters this time. There won't be any problems. I'm just afraid that he won't dare to come. Sun Lingyu said. Third Master, young Master Nie, that kid is here. Suddenly, the voice of a hidden sentry came from the microphone. This sentry was located on the roof of a neighboring building and could overlook the entire factory area. A tall figure quickly appeared in the dilapidated building, which was leaking air everywhere. Jiang Tian. The moment she saw Jiang Tian, Huang Linger desperately shook her head and shouted. But her mouth was taped, so she could only make vague sounds. Her eyes were full of anxiety and despair. Jiang Tian saw that her body was covered with scars, her hair was disheveled, and her eyes were filled with pain and despair. Obviously, she had suffered a lot of shock. Jiang Tian's heart suddenly clenched. Sorry I'm late. On the empty floor, aluminum window frames, concrete blocks, cement bags, and steel cages were placed in a mess. It was already late at night, but several miners' lamps on the floor shot light beams onto the ceiling. There were mosquitoes and insects flying around the lamp posts. Jiang Tian was 100 meters away from Huang Linger, but he could still hear her vague whimpers. Huang Linger desperately twisted her body and shook her head. She tried to use her eyes to drive away the figure that was approaching her. But her mouth was firmly taped, so she couldn't make a sound. In despair, her tears fell down. Jiang Tian actually came alone. He didn't call the police. Huang Linger was moved and desperate at the same time. She just saw that they had arranged gunmen. There were at least 7 or 8 guns in the building. There were also 3 snipers on the top of the office building outside. What was the use of Jiang Tian coming here alone? How could he be a match for them? But she was very strange. She was actually moved. It was the kind of heart-wrenching feeling. She used to hate him so much. Now, her life was in danger, but she still didn't want to see him come and see him in trouble. Jiang Tian, I really didn't expect you to be such a sentimental person. For your little lover, you didn't hesitate to come alone. You really have guts. Suddenly, Nie Feng was stunned for a moment, and then he laughed loudly. His laughter was full of hatred and hostility. His voice was sharp and hoarse, like a sharp glass cutting through an iron pot. It was especially ear-piercing. What are you afraid of? Jiang Tian's eyes were indifferent. He looked at him with disdain. It's just a few fire sticks. Do you think you can hurt me? Seeing Jiang Tian so confident and even aware of the existence of the gunman, Nie Feng was stunned for a moment. But soon, as if he had heard a big joke, he looked up to the sky and laughed. Ha, you're really crazy. I know you're a master, but your cultivation has dropped a lot. Last time, my bodyguard cut your palm. Can you still withstand the fire gun? It's funny. Just when Nie Feng was laughing, Sun Lingyu, who was standing next to him, had a sharp look in his eyes. He made a shooting gesture with his hands behind his back to the 7 or 8 gunmen. Strategically, he despised the enemy. Tactically, he valued the enemy. Sun Lingyu, who made his debut at the age of 18, could be said to be an old man. In those years, Qingyun society was founded by him. After Sun Hao disappeared, he came out of the mountain again to control it. Sun Lingyu naturally understood the principle of a lion using all its strength to catch a rabbit. Jiang Tian, this guy, dared to come alone. If his head wasn't broken, then he must have something to rely on. What's more, Jiang Tian was rumored to have some skills. If he didn't treat it carefully, he might fail miserably. It was a pistol. Huang Linger saw that following Sun Lingyu's gesture, the 7 or 8 gunmen pulled out their pistols from their bulging waists. In an instant, Huang Linger's tears were like a dam bursting. Crystal-clear tears surged out and covered her face. She wanted to remind Jiang Tian so much, but she couldn't make a sound and couldn't make a gesture. So hateful. So hateful. Huang Linger could only desperately open her eyes and blink. She used her eyes to remind Jiang Tian to run, run. However, she saw through her blurry, tearful eyes that Jiang Tian's eyes were very calm. There was even a little pity. Close your eyes. When Jiang Tian said this, the gunman nicknamed Black Skin in Qingyun society had already pulled out his pistol at the fastest speed. He aimed at Jiang Tian and took the lead to pull the trigger to the end, brazenly shooting. Chapter 233. The barrel of the pistol moved back and forth rapidly. Hot yellow bullet shells jumped out from the opening of the barrel and bounced on the ground. 15 bullets were fired continuously at close range. It was enough to suppress a semi-automatic shotgun. In just a few seconds, Black Panther had emptied all the bullets. He was using an SIG-226 full-size military semi-automatic pistol developed and produced by the German gun company Siegel and Sauer. Its shape was angular, rough and powerful, and the grip was very suitable for his palm. It had a 15-round capacity, double that of the Type 77, and was even more flexible. Moreover, it was equipped with 9mm Barabellum bullets. It was much more powerful than Hua Xia's Type 64-7. 62 bullets. Black Panther had previously worked as a mercenary overseas for 3 years. His marksmanship was not bad. At such a close range, there was no chance of missing. Even if he was made of iron, he would still be dead. 2 million was in his hands. Black Panther was very excited. A smile gradually appeared on his face. For this assassination, the Sun family and Nie Feng could be said to have offered a huge reward of 10 million. The first kill would receive 2 million. However, before he could get excited and smile, his whole face stiffened and he could not smile anymore. He saw Jiang Tian raise his hand and push. The 15 bullets were suspended in the air and could not enter at all. Fuck! Witnessing this shocking scene, Black Panther was so frightened that he let out a wail. His legs went soft and he almost fell to the ground. For a moment he was very confused. He did not know whether to turn around and run or reload and shoot a few more times. Bullets can't kill him. Nie Feng's pupils suddenly shrank. He was so shocked that he muttered, "Shit, Su Ruaching, that bitch got the information wrong. This kid's cultivation has recovered. What are you doing? Fire." Actually, at this moment, Sun Lingyu was also shocked. However, he was after all a troublemaker who had killed countless people. Without saying anything, he took out a shotgun with a sawed-off stock and barrel. He held the shotgun with one hand and loaded it. Then he unceremoniously fired a shot at Jiang Tian. In an instant, dozens of steel balls and shotgun shells fanned out toward Jiang Tian. At the same time, several other gunmen also reacted and fired at Jiang Tian. There were pistols and submachine guns. For a time, the dense gunshots were like popping beans. Hundreds of bullets were shot toward Jiang Tian like rain. Sun Lingyu was confident that even if Jiang Tian was a so-called martial arts expert, he would not be able to withstand such overbearing firepower. "You're courting death." At this time, Jiang Tian finally moved. He pushed his right hand forward, and his Zhen Yuan surged. With a bang, all the bullets stopped in midair. As his right hand fell, the scorching bullets all fell to the ground with tinkling sounds. Before anyone could react, he raised his hands, and dozens of translucent wind blades flew up and down, shooting out explosively. While waves of blood rolled, and the wind blades were like hot knives cutting into butter, cutting the gunmen into pieces. Pieces of corpses with a pungent smell of blood fell to the ground, stirring up a cloud of dust and splashing blood. The scene was extremely bloody. Holy shit! Seeing this, Nie Fong was so scared that he screamed like a girl. He stumbled back, but tripped over a cement bag and fell on his back. 8 gunmen were dead just like that? Even a shotgun could not kill Jiang Tian? Was he still human? Nie Fong was trembling all over. He did not have the strength to stand up. He just supported himself on the ground with all 4 limbs, looking up at Jiang Tian and moving back. Sun Lingyu pulled the trigger, but he did not hear the expected gunshot. He looked down and found that the shotgun was cut off by Jiang Tian with a wave of his hand. "Sniper!" Shoot! Sun Lingyu was scared out of his wits. He did not care about Nie Fong, who fell down. He ran toward the stairs and shouted into the air headset. He did not expect a sniper rifle to kill Jiang Tian. Even if the sniper used a Barrett sniper rifle, he had no confidence. He only hoped that the sniper could suppress Jiang Tian and give him a chance to escape. However, he was wrong. The snipers in the several tall buildings next to them had already been trampled into meat paste by Jiang Tian's feet when he flew over. They did not even have time to scream, nor did they have time to warn Sun Lingyu and Nie Fong. Jiang Tian raised his hand and waved. A slender wind blade, like the Milky Way falling from the 9th heaven, chopped down on Sun Lingyu's head. A loud sound was heard. Sun Lingyu ran for more than 3 meters before his body was split into 2 from the middle. 2 pieces of his body fell to the ground amidst the billowing waves of blood. "Jiang Tian, don't kill me." Seeing this scene, Nie Fong was so scared that his whole body trembled violently. He peed and defecated. He retreated while begging pitifully. His eyes were full of deep fear. Yes, at this moment, in his eyes, Jiang Tian was like a demon god from hell. His body exuded monstrous anger and murderous aura that could reap his life at will. "Jiang Tian, stop. This is a misunderstanding. Please spare my son's life. I'll definitely give you an explanation." But at this moment, Nie Zhanghai, the Sun family's patriarch, Sun Lingfei, and Nie Mingyuan rushed in and shouted loudly, "I've already warned you not to provoke me." Turning a deaf ear to all of this, Jiang Tian walked closer to Nie Fong and coldly looked at Nie Fong, who was lying on the ground. He coldly said, "Even if you want to be my enemy, you shouldn't have any ideas about my family and friends. Otherwise, I'll kill you without mercy. If you dare to kill my son, the Nie family, Qin family, and Sun family will unite and exterminate your Jiang family. Moreover, my sister is a disciple of the semi-hidden Wudong sect. She's not someone you can provoke." Nie Zhanghai's face was gloomy. Seeing that begging for mercy was not going to work, he directly threatened Jiang Tian. At this moment, everyone was nervously looking at Jiang Tian, but no one thought that Jiang Tian would dare to kill Nie Fong on the spot. After all, the Nye family, Sun family, and Chen family together were terrifying. Moreover, Nye Zhonghai even mentioned the Wudong sect behind him. However, what surprised and shocked them was that Jiang Tian turned a deaf ear to this. He didn't even look at Nye Zhonghai. He only stared coldly at Nye Feng and said coldly, "Nye Feng, do you remember that I once said that if you dare to touch Huang Linger, I'll skin you alive? Jiangdan, don't you dare." Before Nye Zhonghai could finish his threat, Jiang Tian reached out his hand and grabbed, his fingers digging into Nye Feng's skull like a steel drill. "I never go back on my words." Jiang Tian's cold voice sounded like a demon king from the depths of hell. "Jiang Tian, no." Then, in the midst of Nye Feng's hoarse screams, Jiang Tian pulled out his head and spine with one hand, dripping with blood. Jiang Tian's other hand only lightly swiped, and Nye Feng was like a skinned rabbit. His skin was completely peeled off by Jiang Tian, revealing his fresh and tender muscles. Nye Feng's eyes were wide open, filled with fear and pain. It was as if he couldn't believe that he would die in such a tragic way. "Nye Zhonghai, you are not qualified to threaten me." The entire place was silent. Under everyone's horrified gaze, Jiang Tian casually threw Nye Feng's head on the ground, causing blood to splatter, and said casually, "Wudong, a semi-hidden sect? What do I have to fear? Even if the sect leader of Wudong comes personally, I will still kill him with one sword strike. I'll wait for you to take revenge on me." At this moment, the scene was silent. Nye Zhonghai sat on the ground with tears running down his face. Nye Mingyuan and Sun Lingyun held their breaths and didn't dare to breathe. Most of the followers they brought were the backbone of the Qingyun society. They were all fierce people who killed without blinking. But at this moment, they couldn't help but feel a chill down their spines. Their hair stood on end, and cold sweat poured out of their bodies like small streams. They had never seen Jiang Tian's cruel way of killing people. It was simply too terrible and cruel. Then, Jiang Tian casually cut off the rope that tied Huang Linger with a wind blade. Then, he held her back with one hand and her legs with the other. He carried her in his arms and walked downstairs. When Jiang Tian's eyes swept over, everyone shivered and stepped back, automatically making a path for him. When Jiang Tian passed by, many heroes of the Qingyun society were even more silent. They didn't dare to breathe loudly. They stood close to the wall, lowered their eyes, and didn't dare to look at Jiang Tian. At this time, many people's hearts were beating like drums, and they felt uneasy. This ruthless person even dared to kill Nye Feng and Sun Lingyu. It was tantamount to becoming the enemy of the Nye and Sun families. How fierce was that? Moreover, Nye Feng and Sun Lingyu had clearly mobilized gunmen over, but they were still killed by him until blood flowed like a river. How terrifying was this strength and skill? At this time, many ruthless people of the Qingyun society were secretly glad that they didn't participate in this operation. Otherwise, they would be the ones lying on the ground. When Jiang Tian disappeared from everyone's sight, Nye Mingyuan helped Nye Zhonghai up and said in a trembling voice, "Dad, I'm sorry for your loss. Su Ruoqing misled me." Nye Zhonghai was so angry that he beat his chest and stamped his feet. He said hatefully, "Bullets can't kill him, and even snipers can't kill him. How is this the cultivation of the iron body? Su Ruoqing is definitely deliberately misleading me. If we didn't listen to her, Feng, wouldn't have." Sun Lingyun clenched her fists tightly and gritted her teeth in anger. She said with hatred, "This Jiang Tian is too fierce. I must kill him to avenge my son and third brother." Calm down." Nye Mingyuan maintained a rare calmness and said in a deep voice, "Now we can see that Jiang Tian is a transcendent existence. Ordinary assassins are useless against him. If we make a move again, we'll just be delivering our heads to him. If he comes for revenge, then what should we do? Are we going to let him suppress us so openly?" Sun Lingyun was furious. Her son and third brother had died in Jiang Tian's hands. If she didn't avenge this, she would be a human being. The most important thing now is to contact Wudong sect as soon as possible and ask my aunt and Li Chunfeng to go down the mountain together to suppress Jiang Tian. Nye Mingyuan was very calm and thoughtful. He was even more experienced than Nie Zhanghai and Sun Lingyun, and said in a deep voice, "Of course, during this period of time, we can't let Jiang Tian live in peace. We'll tell Su Ruoqing that Jiang Tian has been severely injured by us. Su Ruoqing has long been plotting to unify Jinling's underground world. I'm sure she can't hold back from attacking Jiang Tian. It's best if she can kill Jiang Tian. Even if she can't, she can suppress Jiang Tian to a certain extent and give us a chance to breathe. In addition, we'll hire a top trading team to suppress the Jiang Tian family in the financial market. Jiang Tian is just an ignorant and incompetent person. He won't be able to withstand it." Chapter 234. Hearing this, Sun Lingyun's face was full of joy. She patted Nie Mingyuan's shoulder and praised, "Mingyuan, it's rare for you to be so calm and come up with such an idea to kill two birds with one stone." Nie Zhanghai also regained his former ambitious and ruthless demeanor. The pain of losing his son turned into a monstrous murderous aura. He said in a low voice, "Humph, no matter how powerful Jiang Tian is, he's just an expert of the secular world. How can he compare with those experts of Wudong?" Thinking of his son's tragic death, the muscles on Nie Zhanghai's cheeks twitched and twisted. He gritted his teeth and said coldly, "When Senior Li and my sister come back, I will definitely tear Jiang Tian into pieces and crush him into meat paste." Huang Linger kept her eyes closed. If she wanted to open them, she was afraid that she would faint from the bloody and cruel scene. But she heard the intense gunshots, heard the blood-curdling screams, and smelled the pungent smell of blood. She couldn't see, but she knew that Jiang Tian took on the guns for her. He fought alone against 7 or 8 villains, bathed in blood. "Gods and Buddhas, please protect Jiang Tian. Don't let him get hurt. Don't let him be killed. I'd rather die for him. I beg God to protect Jiang Tian. Don't let anything happen to him." She kept trembling and prayed devoutly in her heart. Her pretty face was full of tears, which had never dried. When she was picked up by Jiang Tian, she felt the warm embrace and the fresh and pleasant smell. Only then did she feel relieved. She knew that Jiang Tian was fine, and she was safe. But at this time, she, who had not eaten or drunk for a day and was extremely weak after being beaten several times and frightened several times, relaxed and fainted. When she woke up again, Huang Linger felt that her mouth and tongue were salivating, and her body was also steaming hot. It seemed that Jiang Tian had fed her something. She looked carefully and found that Jiang Tian's face was close to her. She was lying on a bench in the garden behind the Medical University Library. Her head was resting on Jiang Tian's thigh, and she was wearing Jiang Tian's coat. At this moment, she felt as if the entire world had stopped. The sky was filled with stars, and the blue starry sky was incomparably deep. The swaying leaves were motionless. Even the wind that passed through the two of them, and even the bright yellow light from the street lamps, were frozen. Jiang Tian was resting with his eyes closed, as if he had fallen asleep. Stop. I really want time to stop at this moment forever," Huang Linger muttered in a low voice. Her cheeks gradually turned red as she looked at Jiang Tian's handsome face with infatuation. This was that year, those days, he couldn't get enough of kissing and looking at that face. "You're awake?" However, Jiang Tian still woke up and smiled. His eyes turned into beautiful crescents in Huang Linger's eyes. "Jiangtan, are you okay?" Huang Linger reluctantly got up, sat up straight, and asked. "I'm fine." "Did you kill someone?" "Don't worry about that. I've already spoken to the police. Moreover, Nie Feng intended to murder and kidnap me. This is considered self-defense." Jiang Tian's face was very calm. He had already called Yu Chang, and Yu Chang promised that he would report to his father and leave everything to them. Yu Chang also revealed that the provincial government and the Jin government were extremely dissatisfied with the Su, Nie, Chen, and Sun families' actions of disrupting the market order and violating the law. The government and Secretary Yu also wanted to cooperate with Jiang Tian and use this as an opportunity to get rid of these malignant tumors. Huang Linger thought of Jiang Tian's ability to pass through walls, and how he managed to break out of the encirclement and save her today. She knew that he was not an ordinary person and should have a way to protect himself, so she was relieved. Jiang Tian, what happened to you over the years? After hesitating for a moment, Huang Linger asked softly. Nothing, it's all in the past. In short, it's good that you're fine. It's already 2 in the morning, and your father should be waiting anxiously. I'll take you home. Jiang Tian sent a text message to Huang Zhihui, then stood up and walked toward the family residence. Jiang, don't go. Huang Linger suddenly stood up and hugged Jiang Tian's waist from behind, hugging him tightly. She used a lot of strength as if she wanted to embed Jiang Tian into her body. Her cheek was pressed against Jiang Tian's back, and she was intoxicated and greedily inhaling the familiar smell. Feeling the soft and warm feeling from his back, Jiang Tian's body suddenly stiffened. He hesitated for a moment and whispered, let's go back. Huang Linger's heart was filled with tenderness and love. Her turbulent emotions were like a dam bursting out of a dam, and she could no longer control them. She said with a sobbing tone, Jiangdan, let's start over. After so many years, I have never forgotten you. I didn't expect you to come back, but from the moment I saw you again, I knew that in this life, my heart and my body can only belong to you, and I will always belong to you. As she spoke, Huang Linger cried and said with a trembling voice, I know that I wasn't good enough at that time, and I wasn't mature enough. But now that I've grown up, I'm willing to take care of you and accompany you. Even if it's just like before, I'm willing to be your contract lover. Jiang Tian was silent for a long time, motionless. His face was full of bitterness, and his heart was filled with sorrow. Destiny made fools of people. Only when you love, do you know more. At that time, he was young and inexperienced, so he missed this cute girl and ruthlessly abandoned her. But when he suddenly woke up, he already had Qingya, so how could he have a foot in 2 boats? When he met her, Jiang Tian only wanted to help her restore her EQ and get rid of her heart's demon. He already knew that it was difficult to grasp this scale, and if he wasn't careful, it would awaken her suppressed feelings. Jiang Tian had been careful and kept a distance, but he didn't expect that this little girl still couldn't control herself. You should have heard from your father that I actually have a lover. Her name is Zhao Xueqing, and she is very good to me. Our relationship is also very good. Jiang Tian opened his mouth with difficulty, and only then did he realize that his voice was very dry. Don't say any more. I beg you, don't say any more. Huang Linger's face instantly became as pale as paper. She wanted to hide her pain, but she couldn't hide it no matter what. Her delicate body trembled, but she wasn't willing to let go of Jiang Tian's waist. Her tears had already wet Jiang Tian's shoulder. Suddenly, 2 blushes appeared on her cheeks. She said softly, full of tenderness, Jiangdan, I was your lover. I just said that I can be your secret lover, and I don't want any status. I won't be jealous, and I won't disturb your lover. I just want to occupy a small corner of your heart, and when you're tired and bored, you can come and see me. Let me accompany you and take care of you, and I will be satisfied. Ling, forget me. I once brought you so much pain. Jiang Tian grabbed her hands and then slowly turned around. The starlight shined on her beautiful face, making her look even more beautiful. Her little face was covered in crystal-clear tears, and it was filled with pleading and resentment. Her clear eyes were covered in a mist, and it was so beautiful that it could break anyone's heart. I don't want to forget. Huang Linger looked at Jiang Tian with a determined face and stubbornly said, that pain is like the sand in the clam meat. After being polished by time, it has already become a shining pearl. It is the most precious treasure of my life. But I can't let my lover down. I really can't do it. Jiang Tian shook his head and sighed. We won't tell her, we won't disturb her. Huang Linger couldn't hold on any longer as she helplessly cried, she doesn't know of my existence, and I won't hurt her. Huang Linger looked at Jiang Tian with a pitiful expression, I just want to share a little bit of your feelings, I just want a little bit. I beg you, Jiangtan, don't leave me alone. Ling. Even if she doesn't know, I can't get over my own hurdle. Jiang Tian let out a long sigh. If you don't want me, I will die of pain. Huang Linger's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. Her body went soft, and her eyes were filled with despair. She couldn't even stand steadily. Actually, I have an idea. Jiang Tian's eyes were moist as he smiled stiffly and bitterly. You know that I'm not an ordinary person. I can delete all your memories of me. Forgetting me for you is a blessing. Jiangtan, don't be like this. Huang Linger's face suddenly became extremely horrified. She stumbled back as she desperately shook her head with tears in her eyes and begged bitterly. I don't want to be with you anymore. I won't disturb you, but I beg you, don't delete my memories. I love you, this is my life's treasure. Why are you so cruel? You don't even leave me a little bit of hope. You are so ruthless. Qingya, I'm doing this for your own good. The scar in your heart has been healed, and you will have a new life. Jiang Tian stepped forward and gently grabbed Huang Linger's wrist. His eyes were filled with tenderness, and he said gently and affectionately, forget me and then bravely fall in love, start a family, have a few children, and live happily. I won't. I beg you, don't do this. I love you, please don't let me forget you. You don't belong to me, but at least this memory belongs to me. What right do you have to delete it? Huang Linger shouted herself hoarse. She cried and begged. She struggled, and her fists punched Jiang Tian's chest. You are so cruel, don't, you bastard. I hate you. Tears, like rain, scattered on the lawn, like the morning dew, sparkling and translucent and flawless. I'm sorry, forgive me, Jiang Tian held her in his arms. After 10,000 years, crossing the distance of billions of light years, this was the first and last hug with her. Then, Jiang Tian's fingers moved. Beside her ear. Sniffed. He snapped his fingers. Sniffed. In an instant, Huang Linger's eyes, which were full of unwillingness, grievance, and resentment, dimmed. In her eyes, countless images retreated and disappeared. Finally, her delicate body suddenly stiffened, and she stopped struggling. Like an obedient kitten, she curled up in his arms and fell into a deep sleep. In the early hours of the morning, the campus was quiet. The bright yellow street lights enveloped the man and woman, causing their hair to reflect white light. It was as if their hair had turned white in an instant. Jiang Tian suddenly felt his face heat up. He raised his hand and touched it. Unknowingly, his face was already full of tears. Chapter 235. Professor Jiang, is Linger with you? Huang Zhihui quickly walked over with a flashlight. Here. Jiang Tian greeted him and stuffed Huang Linger into his arms. Then he made a shushing gesture. Jiang Tian whispered something into his ear and patted him on the shoulder. Huang Zhihui was shocked. He sighed deeply and nodded. Jiang Tian snapped his fingers in Huang Linger's ear. She quickly woke up and looked at Jiang Tian in confusion. Jiang Tian smiled and walked away. Huang Zhihui squeezed out a stiff smile and said dotingly, Linger, let's go home. Dad, I'm hungry. Is there anything to eat at home? Huang Linger innocently skipped in the direction of the family residence like a happy lark. There's yam pork rib soup at home. You wild girl, you went out to play for a day and didn't even come home to eat. Huang Zhihui patted the dust off his daughter and rebuked her. Oh, I love yam pork rib soup the most. Huang Linger happily kissed her dad. However, her heart felt like it was being pulled by something. She couldn't help but look at the strange man under the street lamp. What are you looking at? You almost hit a tree. Huang Zhihui patted his daughter's head and rebuked. Nothing, I just feel that. Huang Linger stopped and turned her head to look at the back of the figure. She saw the street lamp sprinkle a bright yellow light, enveloping the man walking alone. It was as if his hair had turned white. In an instant, Huang Linger's heart suddenly throbbed. Her eyes were slightly red as she murmured, I feel like I've seen him before. He's very familiar with me. Oh, he's just a passerby. It's probably because he has a common face. Huang Zhihui chuckled. But in the next moment, his eyes turned red and tears suddenly flowed out. It looks so familiar. Huang Linger turned around and skipped away. In fact, Jiang Tian had left a protective jade talisman for Huang Linger, but Nie Feng's desperate actions this time gave him a warning. If I'm not wrong, the three big families will continue the same strategy as they did in my previous life. It's time for the financial war to start over the controlling shares of Medicine King Group. Jiang Tian's gaze was deep as he let out a long sigh. From the looks of it, the stock price of the Medicine King Group is already fluctuating abnormally. Once they gain control of the Medicine King Group, they will begin a series of massacres. In my previous life, after the Medicine King Group came under the control of the three big clans, the Jiang family became penniless. The three big clans, on the other hand, were even wealthier. They could do whatever they wanted in Jinling. Even if they killed my mother and the others, no one would stand up for the Jiang family. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with a cold light as he said in a deep voice, "In this life, I have already gained control of a large number of connections and resources before returning to Jinling. This is very different from my previous life. I will not allow this to happen." Sometimes, the best defense was offense. Even a tiger would do its best to catch a rabbit. Although Jiang Tian was confident in his strength, he would not give the Nie family any chance to fight back. "Grandpa, there's something that I have been thinking about for a long time." That night, Jiang Tian returned to the Jiang Manor with Yi Ziwei and Jiang Lin. They found his grandpa and talked about the past. "Little Tian, tell me." In the past half a year, Jiang Changing had been continuously taking the 9 transformation great elixir. He was already hale and hearty. He even practiced Tai Chi every day. It was impossible to imagine how weak he was half a year ago. "Do you still remember Qin Junbin from Yanjing's Tianwei Pharmaceutical Company?" Jiang Tian said lightly. "Of course." The old man sighed. Qin Junbin was once the imperial physician of the Red Wall School. He was a leading figure in the medical field of the Northern faction. He was also the vice president of the Traditional Chinese Medicine Association. When I was in university, he even taught me the origins of Chinese medicine. Furthermore, 30 years ago, Huaxia's Traditional Chinese Medicine Association promoted the medical exchange between the North and South. He came to Jinling to give a lecture, and I was once his teaching assistant. His academic standards were pretty good, and he gave me a lot of pointers. Speaking up to here, he shook his head and sighed. The old man restrained himself and returned to etiquette. He was a man of knowledge and action, and he never gossiped about others. Even if he was dissatisfied, he would hide it in his heart. As someone who had lived 2 lives, Jiang Tian already knew Qin Junbin's true colors and what he would do in the future. Now that the war was about to start, Jiang Tian naturally said what he wanted to say. "Old man, the Tianwei Pharmaceutical Company is still producing the Dangshan Wuji pill and Ongong Bizor pill. However, the patents for these 8 medicines belong to our Medicine King Group, and they are also our main products." Jiang Tian said faintly. "You still know about these old stories?" Jiang Changing raised his teacup and took a sip. His eyes were deep and long, as if he was reminiscing about the past. "It's still the North and South medical exchange from 30 years ago. In those few years, I've been improving and perfecting these 8 ancestral prescriptions. Even after I finished improving them, I still didn't feel at ease. At that time, Grandfather was only 40 years old. You could even say that he was a young lad." The old man smiled. Grandfather wasn't too confident in his own improvements. Coincidentally, he came to Jinling to give a lecture, so I wanted to ask him to take a look. He also gave me some suggestions. However, after some clinical trials, I felt that the effects were average, and it wasn't as good as the original ones. A few years later, your mother married into the Jiang family and applied for a patent for these 8 prescriptions. Our Medicine King Corporation also relied on these prescriptions to rise to prominence. Grandfather, why is Tianwei Pharmaceutical Company also producing these medicines? Why didn't you stop them?" Yi Ziwei furrowed her brows. "Even if we allowed them to produce them, just the patent fees alone would earn us 100 million yen a year. Tianwei Pharmaceutical Company has been producing for 20 years, so we should be able to earn at least 10 million yen. Sigh. I've actually considered this matter for a long time." Jiang Chongging sighed. Firstly, Chen Junbin did guide me in my medical skills back then. He can be considered as half a teacher to me. He once contacted me and said that he wanted to produce these medicines. He only needed to slightly change the formula and apply for a patent. He asked me to give him some face. He's my senior, and he's also very polite. So I couldn't refuse him. Secondly, although Chen Junbin has made a lot of money from producing these medicines, he's also contributed to the development and inheritance of TCM. On this point, our goals are the same. I also hope that these medicines can be passed down. So I couldn't be bothered to fuss about it. When he finished speaking, Jiang Chongging looked at Jiang Tian and smiled. Why are you asking about such trivial matters? Jiang Tian bitterly smiled. Old master, I'm worried that this patent will cause a dispute. Chen Junbin will use this to attack our Medicine King Corporation. After all, the head of Jinling's Chen family, Chen Donglin, is from the same sect as Chen Junbin. How is that possible? Jiang Chongging smiled. To put it bluntly, he's producing pirated medicines. The patent is in the hands of the Medicine King Corporation. Shaking his head, the old master said, "It's impossible for Chen Junbin to be so unreasonable. During my birthday banquet last year, he even called and said that he wanted to come over personally. But I considered that he's too old, so I didn't allow him to come. But he still sent a lot of Beijing specialties. He's a sentimental person, and it's impossible for him to cause trouble. Grandpa, we still think that we should clarify the patent and sue them to stop the production of these medicines. If something happens, we'll be in a passive position. I won't allow that." Jiang Chongging's face turned solemn for the first time as he solemnly said, "If there's a problem in our TCM industry, then we'll become a joke to those in the Western medicine industry. It'll also be a huge loss to the TCM industry." Yi Ziwei and Jiang Lin knew that the old master was stubborn, so they turned to look at Jiang Tian, hoping that he could persuade the old master. However, Jiang Tian stood up and smiled. "All right, then we'll go along with Grandpa's suggestion." Before leaving, Jiang Tian asked, "Oh, right. Grandpa, I'm planning to hold a product launch. The product in the laboratory has already been successfully developed. Can you help us out? Especially the media." "Forget it. I won't make do. Are you the one who came up with all these new products? I'm already old, so why should I show myself?" Jiang Chongging smiled as he waved his hand. "All right, we'll do it ourselves," Jiang Tian replied. "Furthermore, Jiang Tian, I believe that the development of a company depends on the product." As Jiang Chongging stood up, he held onto Jiang Tian's hand and sent the latter off before he earnestly said, "Your product is good, and the effects are good. Even the patients can praise you by word of mouth. Advertising and marketing are just unorthodox methods, so don't neglect the fundamentals. I won't stop you from holding a product launch, but I hope that it won't be too extravagant and wasteful." "All right. I got it." Jiang Tian nodded his head and sighed. Grandpa still doesn't know how terrifying the battle of public opinion is. After all, it's still 2008, and the internet and media aren't as developed as the future. It was already late at night when they left the Jiangzhuang manor. The car's headlights illuminated a long distance in the dark. "Jiang Tian, is Chen Junbin as trustworthy as Grandpa said?" Jiang Lin asked worriedly. "There's a saying that goes, old people don't respect themselves. Chen Junbin is a classic example. He will take advantage of the situation to bite our Jiang family." Jiang Tian replied. "Then why aren't you persuading the old master? It'll be troublesome if we start a lawsuit." Yi Ziwei said anxiously. "Forget it. If we start a lawsuit, the old master will definitely have to appear in court. He's old and doesn't like to be active. Let's not bother him." Jiang Tian replied. "Then what if Chen Junbin bites people?" Jiang Lin frowned. "He's the leading figure in the Northern School of Chinese medicine. He's famous and has high prestige. Even Grandpa can only be considered as his junior. The moment he speaks, the situation will be disadvantageous to us. It'll be hard for us to turn the tables." "It's fine. We'll just take advantage of the situation. The Chen family will suffer a huge loss. Jiang Tian smiled, but his eyes were cold and filled with killing intent. In his previous life, when the three major families of Jinling started to attack the Jiang family, Tianwei Pharmaceutical, who had been relying on the patent of the Medicine King Group for more than 20 years, repaid their kindness with enmity. They attacked the Medicine King Group and slandered the Jiang family for plagiarizing the patent. At that time, the entire country was in an uproar. The Medicine King Group went from a conscientious enterprise to a thief that everyone wanted to kill. Their stock price plummeted, and the three major families seized control of the company. Grandpa was so furious that he passed away. But in this life, Jiang Tian returned. He had many people, sufficient funds, and a powerful background. It was fine if Chen Junbin behaved himself. But if Chen Junbin dared to act rashly again, then his Chen family and Tianwei Pharmaceuticals would be utterly defeated. Chapter 236. The next day, Jiang Tian met with Yu Chang's father, Secretary Yu, in an extremely private restaurant. Master Kang, it's an honor to meet you. Secretary Yu and several provincial officials had accompanied Chao Shixiang to Jiang Zhuang's birthday banquet before the Spring Festival, so they shook hands with Jiang Tian as soon as they entered the door. Nice to meet you, Secretary Yu. Jiang Tian's face was calm, neither servile nor overbearing. If he could be calm in front of Chao Shixiang, how could a provincial leader like Secretary Yu do? Mr. Jiang, I've heard about the kidnapping case and have reported it to the provincial leaders. It can be said that the government is very angry. I'm not here to speak on behalf of myself, but on behalf of the province. Secretary Yu and Jiang Tian sat across from each other as they chatted while eating a simple meal. As for Yu Chang, the famous young master of Jinling, he was not qualified to sit at all. He could only serve tea like a waiter. Secretary Yu did not hide anything from Jiang Tian and told him about the situation in Jinling. Now, the evil forces in Jinling had sprung up like bamboo shoots after a spring rain. The three major families led by the Nie family relied on the Green Cloud Society to seize, kidnap, threaten, and even kill their competitors. They seriously disrupted the order of the market. The land in Mount Fulong had been unsold for several years, and it was their masterpiece. The Banana Club Business Alliance, led by the Su family, relied on their foundation as a martial arts family to control the underground industry of Jinling. Although Jiang Tian kept a low profile because of Jiang Tian, the three major families of Yangqing Tang, Bai, and Tai, as well as the Jiangbei enterprises, invested a total of 100 billion yuan in Jinling, directly activating the stagnant local economy of Jinling. Moreover, Jiang Tian had a deep relationship with the Battle Dragon Department, the General Staff Department, and the upper echelons of the military. Who was good and who was evil, who was strong and who was weak, who could bring benefits, who was the black sheep, who should be united, and who should be suppressed. In fact, the upper echelons of Jinling and even Su province could determine in an instant. The problem is that the head of the Su family, Su Zhenlei, who is also Su Ruoqing's father, is a martial arts master. Secretary Yu sighed. And the Nie family is backed by a mysterious cultivation sect. It will be very difficult for the police to catch them all at once. Secretary Yu, how do you want to cooperate? I'm willing to contribute, Jiang Tian said indifferently. Although Jiang Tian had no intention of becoming a lackey of the Six Fan School, the fact that he had made so many enemies during the Martial Arts Alliance Conference had taught him a lesson. To cut the weeds, one must dig up the roots. Back then, if he had wiped out the Mo family, Hong family, and other enemies in one fell swoop, he wouldn't have been so arrogant. And the best way to get rid of them was to cooperate with the government. Sometimes, they were even more ruthless than him. It would be best if he could kill them all, but if he couldn't, he would just let them capture them. Now that the dragon subduing mountain has fallen into the Jiang family's hands, I think the Nie family and the other two great families won't be able to sit still any longer. As for the Su family, they've been lying low all these years, but they're actually itching to make a move. I'm afraid they want to take advantage of the chaos to get a share of the pie and expand their influence. A cold glint flashed across Secretary Yu's face. He smiled maliciously. Once they make a move on the Jiang family, Mr. Jiang can fight back at will. The police will not interfere. As for cleaning up the battlefield, leave it to us. I guarantee that no one will escape. Secretary Yu's meaning was clear. Jiang Tian would be in charge of killing the main culprits, especially the martial arts forces. In fact, this was also the most dangerous mission. If he couldn't kill the main culprits, the martial artists would launch a bloody revenge. Even the high officials were afraid of them. But the secular world could be left to the police. Before that, the discipline inspection and procuratorate will first eliminate the forces of the Nie family, Sun family, Qin family, and other families in the government to remove obstacles for Mr. Jiang's operation. Secretary Yu promised. All right, Secretary Yu, I hope we can cooperate well. But when you arrest people, I hope you can cooperate with me. Jiang Tian stood up and shook hands with Secretary Yu. Jiangtan, do you know Su Ruoqing? That night, Yi Ziwei suddenly rushed back to the villa and asked Jiang Tian anxiously. No, I don't. Jiang Tian shook his head lightly. That's strange. Su Ruoqing wants to see you. Are you willing to? Yi Ziwei frowned and said softly. Let's meet then. Jiang Tian smiled faintly and stood up happily. The Su family was a martial arts family. Rumor had it that Su Zhenlei had reached the transcendent state when he was young, far more powerful than the Lei family. However, Su Zhenlei had been in seclusion since 10 years ago, so the Su family had kept a low profile. However, Jiang Tian had Tang Xiaozi and his henchmen to provide him with information. He also communicated with Secretary Yu, so he knew a lot about the Su family. If the Nie family, Qin family, and Sun family were the mainstays of Jin City, then the Su family was the leader of the underground world. The Iron Wolves of Jin City, New World, Victorious Return, and New Star were all under the Su family's control. Their leaders used to study martial arts or seek protection from Su Zhenlei. Su Ruoqing was the real queen of Jin City's underground world. Her power was not to be underestimated. Jiang Tian sat in Yi Ziwei's Aston Martin sports car. After Yi Ziwei started the engine, he asked, "What does she want to talk to me about?" She heard that you have some conflicts with the Nie family, so she wants to mediate between you and them, Yi Ziwei said softly. Hee, I'm afraid it's not that simple. Jiang Tian cracked a smile. His eyes were as calm as a lake in autumn. The news of Jiang Tian dominating Lingnan might have been kept a secret from most people, but not from the Su family. Now that Jiang Tian had returned to Jin City and had taken over the Fulong Mountain with the support of the Tang, Bai, and Tai families, how could the Su family be at ease? Soon, they arrived at the Banana Clubhouse on the other side of the Qinhuai River. It was huge. The fact that the Banana Clubhouse occupied such a large area in a place where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold showed how powerful the owner was. The clubhouse was surrounded by green trees. Banana trees were planted all over the courtyard, making it lush and lovely. There was a cobblestone path under his feet. The entrance was very exquisite. There were rolling grooves and glass beast ridges. The tall walls on both sides were carved with landscape figures. The brass nails on the black door shone brightly. The door blocks were chiseled out of limestone. There was a pair of chilants carved on each side. There was moss mottled on it, making one feel as if they could smell the distant golden powder of the 6 dynasties. There was also a row of iron rings embedded in the brick walls on both sides of the door. There was a long purple stone under it. Seeing Jiang Tian look carefully, Yi Ziwei introduced, "This courtyard used to be the residence of a prince in the Qing dynasty. The iron rings on the wall are for tying horses. The purple stone is for mounting horses. In the old days, the big families would ride horses on the streets with bells on the saddle. The sound of the horses' hooves was even more impressive than the sports cars we drive now." There was a hint of reverence in her tone. In Jin City, Su Ruoqing was much more famous and powerful than her. Other things aside, this piece of land alone was worth at least 1 to 200 million. But it was just a place for Su Ruoqing to drink tea and meet friends. The doorman had already received instructions. He didn't stop Jiang Tian and Yi Ziwei from entering and immediately let them in. Jiang Tian and Yi Ziwei walked into the courtyard and saw a few young people drinking tea and chatting under a loquat tree. Nie Mingyuan, Chu Mengyao, Tang Bao, Lei Gang, Mu Yunqing, Xia Miao, and the rest of the young talents in Jin City. Some of them were holding laptops, some were holding documents. In the middle of them was a famous business professor in Huaxia. The impact of the American subprime crisis is very far-reaching. We have to be vigilant of the impact on Huaxia, especially the small and medium-sized export processing enterprises. Also, we have to be vigilant of the risks in the capital market. However, there are opportunities in the crisis. Huaxia's government will also carry out a large-scale stimulus policy. The infrastructure and real estate industries will benefit and form a certain degree of asset bubbles. The business professor spoke with confidence. Beside the sandalwood tea table, Chu Mengyao listened attentively and made tea for everyone. The bone porcelain tea set from Jingdezhen was of excellent quality. It was definitely not ordinary. Her hands were skillful and had already grasped the essence of the tea ceremony. Her jade-white hands flew up and down, making the white porcelain pale in comparison. Here, small academic lectures were held every week. The main speakers were business professors and executives of multinational companies. The topics were very high-end. It involved global asset allocation, industry development prospects, and domestic policy trends. The level was very high. It wasn't something the Xixia Disciples Club could compare to. Why is Jiang Tian here? Suddenly, Mu Yunqing's face changed the moment she saw Jiang Tian and Yi Ziwei. Her small hand holding the teacup trembled. That day, she saw with her own eyes that Jiang Tian kicked Yu Chang until his bones were fractured and he was vomiting blood. But Yu Chang was scared to the point of lying down. Since then, she was more and more confused about Jiang Tian's identity. But the fear in her heart couldn't be erased. Jiang Tian, he actually dares to come to Banana Clubhouse. Chu Mengyao turned to look at Jiang Tian. Her face paled as well. Chu Mengyao had heard about Jiang Tian beating up Nie Feng, but the owner of Banana Clubhouse, Su Ruoqing, had a good relationship with Nie Mingyuan. Wasn't Jiang Tian courting death by coming to this place? This brat is too arrogant. He's stirring up a storm as soon as he returned to Jinling. He even dares to beat up Master Nie. Arrogant to the extreme. Just wait for Su Ruoqing to break his legs. Tang Bao looked at Jiang Tian, her pretty nose wrinkling as she humphed in disdain. Although they'd seen Jiang Tian being treated with respect by Zhao Tiankuan at the Hubei Martial Alliance's gathering, they thought that Jiang Tian was only relying on his family's protection. If Jiang Tian had the guts to go against Su Ruoqing, it would be like hitting a rock with an egg. It's time for him to die. Xia Miao's face was full of mockery as he shook his head with a cold smile. Last time, he was heavily injured by Jiang Tian and only recovered half a month after returning home. Since then, he hated Jiang Tian to the bone. Nie Mingyuan, on the other hand, didn't say anything, but a sharp light flashed in his eyes. Jiang Tian, you're here to apologize to Nie Mingyuan, aren't you? You need to be nice later. Chu Mengyao hesitated before walking up with a smile. I'm acquainted with young Master Mingyuan and Ruoqing Sis. If you need me to help you, I can say a few words. Although she didn't know that Jiang Tian was Master Jiang, the news of Zhang Wanqing regaining control of the Medicine King Group and marketing their products all over the country, as well as the land in Mount Fulong, had spread. As the crown prince of the Medicine King Group, Jiang Tian still made her have some charming thoughts. Why should I apologize to him? Didn't you beat up Nie Feng? Chu Mengyao was surprised. Yaowang Group had only just recovered from its decline. How could you compare to Nie Mingyuan? Chapter 237. Do I have to apologize for hitting him? Even if I kill him, there's no need for that. Jiang Tian smiled faintly. It seemed that House Nie had been keeping this news a secret as well. These people didn't even know about it. Fine. I was being a busybody. Meng Yao was pissed at Jiang Tian's arrogant attitude. She humphed coldly and walked to the tea table. I was trying to help you out of kindness, but you don't know what's good for you. Fine, you can go die if you want. Meng Yao thought angrily. Miss Yi, Mr. Jiang is here. Suddenly, a languid and soft voice sounded, and a woman with a graceful figure walked out of the moon gate. The woman was in her 30s, but her skin was as smooth as jade. Her skin was even whiter than a 16-year-old girl's. Her eyes were clear and bright, and her eyebrows were curved like willow leaves. There was a hint of heroism in her. Under the hazy light, her aqua-green cheongsam embroidered with red peonies wrapped around her enchanting and exquisite figure. However, it still gave off a somewhat seductive feeling. It was enough to make an eminent monk unable to control himself. Watching sis? It's been a long time. Meng Yao ran over and hugged the woman, her face full of joy as she rubbed her head against the woman's neck and said coquettishly, "Watching sis." The few young men who were able to summon the wind and summon the rain were like subordinates meeting their superiors. They stood up one after another and bowed with incomparably respectful expressions. Even Ye Mingyuan had a serious look on his face. Su Ruoqing was the only daughter of Jinling's only grandmaster, Su Jinlei. House Su had been in Jinling for decades. Their connections, power, and wealth were not something ordinary families could compare to. Even House Nye and the other two houses had to be careful and avoid them. There were even rumors that Su Jinlei didn't care about worldly affairs during his seclusion. Many of House Su's clubs were under Su Ruoqing's control. In Jinling's high society, she represented House Su, the queen of Jinling's underground world. She was on the same level as Nie Mingyuan, Meng Yao, and Xia Miao's parents. Everyone, take your time. I'll go out with Mr. Jiang for a few words. Su Ruoqing's gaze fell on Jiang Tian's face. She smiled charmingly, and it was as if the whole world was lit up in an instant. After saying that, she made a gesture of invitation and walked out of the door with light steps. Jiang Tian's face was calm, as if he was not surprised at all. With his hands behind his back, he lazily followed her out and got into a silver-gray Bentley with her. After the two of them left, the young masters and young ladies present all burst into an uproar. They couldn't believe it. How is Jiang Tian so capable? He actually got Big Sister Ruoqing to talk to him alone? Yeah, Sister Ruoqing is so respectful to him, just like how she treats our elders. Big Sister Ziwei, what kind of ability does your little brother have? Looks like you've hidden your strength well. Meng Yao was shocked, Tang Bao was amazed, and Mu Yunqing was confused. The other young masters and misses didn't know what was going on. Wasn't Jiang Tian the trash of House Jiang? How could Su Ruoqing treat him so seriously? Could it be that Su Ruoqing already knows about House Jiang's strength? Yi Ziwei frowned. She didn't know if Su Ruoqing was a friend or foe. Her heart was in a mess. Nie Mingyuan looked at Yi Ziwei, and a flash of hatred flashed in his eyes. I've been playing the hawk my whole life, but I've been pecked in the eye by a little bird. This woman is so scheming. She's been hiding Jiang Tian's strength all this time, causing House Nye to fall into a passive position. She caused us to lose House Nye's land, and my little brother to die an unnatural death. In the silver-gray Bentley, Su Ruoqing and Jiang Tian sat side by side in the back seat. Her right leg crossed over her left leg, causing the cheongsam to slide down naturally, revealing a section of her snowy white skin. It made people want to touch it. Her right leg held a high heel subconsciously, and her beautiful foot could only be held with one hand. Her ankle was soft and boneless. It was so beautiful that it shook people's souls. She smiled and said, Mr. Jiang, when I was young, I used to follow a Jianghu eccentric. I know a little about physiognomy. Can I read your palm? Take a look. Jiang Tian stretched out his left hand. Su Ruoqing's delicate hand immediately grabbed Jiang Tian's small hand. She stuck her head out and looked at it carefully. Mr. Jiang, before you were 25, you were extremely mediocre. But after you were 25, your career suddenly skyrocketed. This is a late bloomer, a dragon among men. Miss Su, you're too kind. Jiang Tian smiled noncommittally. May I ask where Miss Su is taking me? Ha, Mr. Jiang, how can you and I chat in a small room? Of course, we have to sit on the ground and overlook Jinling. Only then can we feel carefree and generous. Su Ruoqing smiled sweetly and looked at Jiang Tian with her seductive eyes. Her every frown and smile was extremely seductive. If a normal man saw her, it would be hard for him to resist and throw away his armor. At this moment, the radio in the car was playing. The city police and weather bureau issued a joint announcement. Typhoon Flower Branch is about to land in Jinling and may cause natural disasters, reminding the public to stay away from the streets for safety reasons. Miss Ruoqing, it's going to rain. Let's go back quickly. Jiang Tian smiled. You and I are children of the martial arts world. Why should we be afraid of this little bit of rain? Su Ruoqing laughed. In response, Jiang Tian could only shake his head helplessly. Huh, isn't this the Fulong mountain area? The car quickly drove out of the city and arrived at the peak of Fulong Mountain. Jiang Tian smiled. Yes, the Fulong mountain area. Who knows how many big families had their eyes on it, but in the end, it fell into the hands of the Jiang family. What a surprise! Su Ruoqing got out of the car and stood by the mountain road. She looked down at the lights of Jinling and smiled. But I'm more curious about how Mr. Jiang raised the 2 billion yuan capital. Haha, I used the shares of the Medicine King Group as collateral to borrow money. Jiang Tian got out of the car and smiled. Mr. Jiang, let's not beat around the bush. You may be able to hide it from others, but you can't hide it from me. You're Master Kong, famous in Lingnan. Su Ruoqing looked down at the bustling night scenery with a half smile. Looks like you've also heard a lot of news. Jiang Tian said without any change in his expression. Master Kong, you shouldn't have returned to Jinling. Su Ruoqing shook her head and sighed. Why? There can't be two tigers on one mountain. Master Kong, you're leading the Lingnan heroes to attack Jinling. The Su family can't eat or sleep in peace. Su Ruoqing smiled. If you had defeated the 3 big families in Jinling, the next step would have been for the Lingnan elites to come and wipe out the Su family and unify the underground world of Jinling. Miss Ruoqing, you're overthinking it. Jiang Tian said helplessly. I came back just to revive the Jiang family. I have no interest in the underground world. Have you seen me meddle in the underground world of Jinling these days? It's just a normal business confrontation. Su Ruoqing turned around. Her eyes were as clear as a lake in autumn. She pursed her red lips and smiled. But I'm worried. What should I do to make Miss Ruoqing feel at ease? Jiang Tian laughed involuntarily. You're the only one who'll become a dead man. Su Ruoqing's bright smile was soul-stirring, but her words were cold and harsh. Master Kong, don't worry. The Jiang family is just an ordinary family. Today, I'll only kill you. I won't hurt the Jiang family. You can die in peace. Before she could finish her sentence, over 100 valiant men rushed down from both sides of the mountain path, surrounding Jiang Tian in the middle. These people were all tall and muscular. Their eyes were ferocious, and their bloodthirsty killing intent was as deep as the ocean. They were all holding machetes, axes, and other similar weapons in their hands. A cold light flashed. They were all red rod-level fighters from the Su family's society. They had all been bathed in blood and had rich combat experience. Every one of them was comparable to a well-trained Special Forces soldier. Just them? Jiang Tian sneered. These people were considered experts in the secular world, but in his eyes, they were just ants that he could kill with a flick of his finger. Of course it's not just them. The greatest respect for the enemy is to kill with one blow with all your strength. Su Ruoqing smiled charmingly. She tucked a strand of hair behind her ear and said calmly. Kaboom! A thunderous sound was heard. It was as if a rock had crushed the ice above their heads. It made their eardrums tremble and their scalps tingle. They felt an invincible force of nature. Also, there was the roar of motorcycle engines. Jiang Tian's eyes flashed coldly and he squinted slightly. Harley heavy-duty motorcycles came from both sides of the mountain path. They brought with them endless power and stirred up clouds of dust. More than 100 heavy-duty motorcycles blocked Jiang Tian in the middle of the mountain path. Every motorcyclist was bareheaded. Dragons and tigers were tattooed on their arms. They wore riveted leather vests that revealed their muscular chests. One person was driving, and the other person behind him was carrying a long knife. This group of steel cavalry was a member of Su Ruoqing's gang, Iron Wolf. They were very mobile, and every one of them was an expert who had been through hundreds of battles. In Su Ruoqing's camp, this motorcycle gang played the role of the vanguard and was also one of the sharpest troops. Murderous intent filled the air. Crazy murderous intent filled every motorcyclist's cold eyes, from their tightly clenched teeth, from their hands that gripped the hilts of their knives, and from the sharp knives that flashed with cold light. In the end, it formed a torrent of murderous intent that swept toward Jiang Tian mercilessly like raging waves beating the shore. On the motorcycles, there were colorful speakers and flashing lights, playing explosive metal music. The motorcyclists' eyes were fearless and incomparably ferocious. The leader was a lean young man. In the middle of his clean-shaven bald head, there was a section of dyed red hair that looked like a red coxcomb. He rode on a Harley motorcycle that was taller and more powerful than the other motorcycles. He wore high-top combat boots and a leather jacket and pants that were full of iron rings and rivets. He was full of punk style. There were dark circles under his eyes. It was unknown whether it was because he had applied eyeshadow or because he did not have enough sleep. However, his eyes were bright, cold, and filled with endless murderous intent. He held a strangely shaped machete in his hand. The blade flashed with a blue light. It was obviously dipped in poison. On his back, he carried a very domineering Zhuge repeating crossbow. Boom! There was a sound. A bolt of lightning zigzagged down like a silver snake. Instantly, bean-sized raindrops fell. The airtight curtain of rain completely enveloped Jiang Tian and many other experts. Miss Ruoqing, is this all you have? I thought you had a tank troop. But you're just a meat bag. I can still kill you in minutes. Jiang Tian was quickly drenched by the rain as he spoke disdainfully. Chapter 238. Jiang Tian, I already know that you were shot in the process of killing Ye Feng, and I just saw your palm. You were indeed stabbed in the Shixia Disciples Club. A guard came forward to help her hold up the umbrella. Su Ruoqing smiled proudly and said, I think your cultivation must have dropped a lot, even to the middle stage of iron body. Otherwise, you wouldn't be injured at all. At present, this is enough to deal with you. You can try. Jiang Tian's eyes were indifferent, unmoved. Good. Then let's try. Su Ruoqing's pretty face was solemn. She gently waved her hand, and her eyes were murderous, as if she was a female general commanding thousands of troops. At this time, she revealed her monstrous domineering aura as the underground queen of Jinling. As her jade-like hand fell, rumble, the sound of disorderly footsteps could be heard. Many fierce people from different societies stepped into the puddles, splashing water everywhere. The earth shook and the mountains shook. Their momentum was astonishing. They raised their machetes and axes up high, pouncing towards Jiang Tian like ferocious tigers. A sharp machete cut through the rain, bringing with it a sharp white light as it slashed down towards Jiang Tian's neck, its speed as fast as lightning. The man with the machete was a master of the club, New World. He had served in the army and was a master of machete skills. That year, he had killed 18 heroes in a northeastern city overnight with a machete and became famous. This machete was also his stunning work. It was powerful and fierce, with the momentum of a thunderbolt. It was extremely fast and the angle was tricky. It was untraceable. The bright blade reflected Su Ruoqing's confident smile in the distance. With this machete, Jiang Tian might not die on the spot, but he would inevitably be seriously injured. But in the next moment, Su Ruoqing's smile stiffened on her face. She could no longer smile or be proud. Clang. Jiang Tian's right hand stretched out like lightning, and two fingers accurately pinched the machete and shook it gently. There was only a cracking sound. The machete made of fine steel that could break gold and stone was shattered into pieces. The broken pieces of the blade were like butterflies fluttering in the air. Su Ruoqing's face changed dramatically. She couldn't believe it. In the next moment, she realized what was going on. She stomped her foot and said in exasperation, "This kid is hiding his strength, or the Nye clan is lying to me." If Jiang Tian only had the cultivation of the iron body, he definitely wouldn't have the ability to shatter the machete. Su Ruoqing realized that she had gotten the wrong information and seriously underestimated Jiang Tian's strength. However, Su Ruoqing understood that it was meaningless to retreat at this time. She had already shown her killing intent, and Jiang Tian would never let her go. She looked at the ruthless members of the club, who were stunned by Jiang Tian's martial arts, and scolded in a sweet voice, "What are you waiting for? Chop him into mincemeat. As long as you can injure him once, you will be rewarded with 1,000,000 gold coins." As the saying goes, when there is a great reward, there will always be brave men. These ruthless men were immediately stirred up by Su Ruoqing's words, and their eyes were burning. 1,000,000. In 2008, 1,000,000 was not a small amount. It was enough to buy 2 or 3 high-end residential apartments in Jinling. Kill him. What are you afraid of? Anyway, we have more people. After a slight pause, they roared again, raised their long sabers and axes, and rushed toward Jiang Tian. "Ha, a bunch of trash. You really don't know what death is." Jiang Tian laughed and waved his fingers. A 10-meter-long chi weapon swept in all directions. Suddenly, swish. With a sharp sound, more than a dozen ruthless men were cut in half at the waist. Blood surged, heads flew, and bodies fell into the pool, splashing water mixed with blood. "Oh my God!" Looking at the broken limbs and internal organs on the ground, the remaining ruthless men were scared out of their wits. They all slammed on the brakes, and their eyeballs almost fell to the ground. They were ruthless men who killed without blinking. Almost every one of them had taken a life, but they had never seen such a tragic way of killing. Jiang Tian just waved his hand gently. They didn't even see what Jiang Tian waved his hand, and more than a dozen of their brothers fell to the ground and became corpses. "Go. Yes, go. Kill him." Many ferocious men held long sabers and axes in their hands, roaring loudly despite their cowardice. But their bodies were incomparably honest, and they were all trembling and retreating. Damn it. Seeing this scene, Su Ruoqing was also scared out of her wits. Once again, Jiang Tian's judgment was refreshed, and a storm rose in her heart. She really underestimated this kid. Did this kid use a hidden weapon or true chi to hurt people in the air? If it was the latter, then he might be a real grandmaster. Iron Wolfgang Go. Su Ruoqing was indeed a ruthless person. At this time, she didn't shrink back. She raised her eyebrows, gnashed her teeth, and shouted loudly. This group of people was useless. It seemed that only the motorcycle gang of the Iron Wolf gang could block one or two. The leader of the Iron Wolf gang, Red Coxcomb, suddenly waved his strange scimitar and pointed it at Jiang Tian. His voice suddenly rose by an octave and he said sternly, "You provoked Miss Ruoqing, so you must die." The next moment he single-handedly controlled the motorcycle to rush toward Jiang Tian. Once it accelerated, the steel monster-like motorcycle flew off the ground and drew a beautiful arc in the air. It broke through the curtain of rain, carrying monstrous power and murderous aura, and heavily crashed toward Jiang Tian. Not only did Jiang Tian not dodge, he instead sprinted forward like a bolt of lightning to greet the attack. His body broke through the curtain of rain, and the raindrops were pulled into a straight line, forming a white passage. The speed of Red Coxcomb's motorcycle was also extremely fast, and it drew a splash. The two splashes were like two violent dragons, and they met each other head-on. At this moment, everyone's hearts clenched. However, the thugs were more excited, because they knew how terrible it was to be hit by a modified Harley motorcycle. The distance of dozens of meters was covered in the blink of an eye under the rapid attack of both sides. But only a bang was heard, and the two heavily collided. Everyone thought that Jiang Tian would die an unnatural death, and become a corpse with broken bones and torn muscles. But the reality was beyond everyone's expectations. The entire motorcycle, together with Red Coxcomb's corpse, and blood burst out like paper paste, like a mass of fireworks bursting in all directions. Flesh, corpse, limbs, parts of the motorcycle, and tires finally fell to the ground, splashing a large amount of water. The gasoline floated on the water, soaking into blue flowers, and the blood was like blooming roses. Under the attack of the torrential rain, it disappeared in an instant. Who dares to go up? At this time, Jiang Tian's white clothes were spotless, and he looked down at these ants with contempt like a god. Clang, clang. Long knives and huge axes fell to the ground. Mr. Jiang, spare my life. I'm willing to submit and pledge my allegiance. Many fierce people were so scared that their legs went soft, and they couldn't control their knees at all. They knelt on the ground, begging for mercy. Jiang Tian's ability was beyond their scope of understanding, and they were scared out of their wits. He smashed a motorcycle into pieces with just his body. How was he human? He was clearly Iron Man or the Hulk. No, they still relied on technology and mutation, but Jiang Tian didn't rely on anything. It should be said that Jiang Tian was a god. Most people knelt on the ground, but there were also two reckless people who thought that the motorcycle was very fast, so they turned around and ran. Kneel and don't move. I told you to run? In response, Jiang Tian only snorted and waved his finger. With a sharp sound, a Qi soldier slashed out like the Milky Way falling from the ninth heaven, cutting a few motorcycles and their riders in half. Amidst the screams that were filled with fear and pain, corpses and severed limbs fell to the ground one after another, creating waves of blood. The motorcycle was smashed into pieces and fell to the ground. By then, Su Ruoqing was already driving a motorcycle and fleeing in the woods. The Nye family is trying to kill me with a borrowed knife. Jiang Tian's Qi soldier can cut through metal. He is obviously a transcendent master. How could he be hurt by their gunmen? When she turned around and saw this scene, she felt a bitter taste in her mouth as she cursed in exasperation. Luckily, I was cautious enough to set up 2 peak-level internal force users and 3 phenomenal success-level internal force users in this forest. Otherwise, I would have been killed. Hurry! Hurry, I'm about to enter the ambush. She turned the handlebar and stepped on the gas. Her eyes were fixed on an area in the forest. Among the 2 peak-level internal force users, Uncle Cheng was the junior brother of her father, Su Zhenlei, and Brother Wei was her master's eldest disciple. They were the most elite force in the Su family. Moreover, all 5 of them came from the same sect and practiced the same cultivation method. They were best at teamwork and could easily take out a transcendent master. The motorcycle broke through the rain like a cheetah and sped through the woods. Soon she reached the ambush spot. Then she saw Jiang Tian coming after her. Jiang Tian actually soared into the sky and broke through the rain, leaving behind a faint white shadow. He traversed a distance of tens of meters and landed on a huge rock less than 5 meters away from her. Master Kong, I have underestimated your strength. This time, I admit defeat. As long as you don't kill me, the Su family will listen to your orders. Su Ruoqing rolled down from the motorcycle and knelt down in front of Jiang Tian. Tears welled up in her eyes. Su family? You are just an ant. You have no right to be my lackey. Besides, you are a traitor. I don't trust you. Jiang Tian looked at her indifferently. Su Ruoqing prostrated herself on the ground and begged. Jiang Tian, if you don't believe me, I am willing to be your woman and let you conquer me. As she spoke, she crawled toward Jiang Tian. She swayed her slender waist and stuck out her butt. The qipao that was drenched by the rain clung tightly to her body, outlining her slender waist, pink buttocks, and full breasts. She was undoubtedly exposed, and could be said to be enchanting and charming to the extreme. She rode the motorcycle all the way. Her cheongsam was torn by the branches and vines, revealing her beautiful back and legs. There were even traces of blood on them, giving her a wild beauty that could captivate one's soul. Suddenly, Su Ruoqing heard a rustling sound behind Jiang Tian. She knew it was Uncle Cheng. She lowered her head even more to hide the smug smile in the depths of her eyes. Your ambush is too crude. However, Jiang Tian did not even look at her. With a cold snort, he suddenly raised his right hand and pointed out a few times. The finger light hit nothing but air. Thud, thud, thud. 5 corpses fell out of the forest and fell from the trees. Each of them had a bloody hole in their forehead. Uncle Cheng, Brother Wei, and the other experts were killed by Jiang Tian before they could come out. How did he find out? How is that possible? How can he be so strong? Su Ruoqing's heart sank. She was shocked and terrified. Her eyes were filled with despair and her body was trembling. Perhaps, the snipers I set up in ambush can kill him. That is a Barrett sniper rifle, and it uses armor-piercing bullets. Su Ruoqing forced herself to calm down. There was still a glimmer of hope in her heart. Chapter 239. To be able to replace Su Zhenlei and dominate Jinling for so many years, Su Ruoqing was definitely not stupid. She could even be said to be very smart. Even though all signs pointed to the possibility that Jiang Tian was an iron body cultivator, she was still very careful to ensure that this operation would be foolproof. She placed 5 snipers that were hired from abroad at high points within a 2-kilometer radius. All of them were equipped with the best sniper rifles and the most powerful armor-piercing bullets. These bullets could easily penetrate walls, bulletproof vests, steel plates, and even military armored vehicles and tanks. As for living people, they would be directly shot in half. She believed that even Qi refinement grandmasters like Hu Qingtian and Li Tuofeng would not be able to block the bullets of these snipers. And this ambush was located in a flat area. The 5 snipers could all aim and shoot. It could be said that Jiang Tian had no chance of survival. Bang bang bang. A few muffled sounds echoed in the forest. The 5 snipers fired almost at the same time. Jiang Tian was already alert. He reached out his right hand and caught all 5 bullets in his hand. Then he raised his hand and the bullets flew in all directions. Bang! A huge tree that required one person to wrap their arms around it was directly blown apart by the bullet fired by Jiang Tian, breaking it in half. Then, a few short and soft screams sounded. The forest returned to silence. Dead silence. Only the dense sound of rain hitting the leaves and the mountain rocks, and Su Ruoqing's rapid heartbeat could be heard. Master Kong, I know I was wrong. Su Ruoqing, the powerful underground queen of Jinling, who was known as the Green Bamboo Snake, was completely convinced. She was also afraid of death. Just now, she was just putting on an act to confuse Jiang Tian and make Jiang Tian let down his guard. But now, she was really scared. She crawled on the ground and couldn't help but tremble. Jiang Tian, please accept me. I am willing to be your woman. I am willing to follow you. She raised her tearful little face and begged for mercy. Jiang Tian was definitely a grandmaster at the peak of the transcendent state. He was able to kill 5 internal force martial Dao masters in a row as if he was crushing bugs. Not even a sniper rifle equipped with armored shells could kill him. Even if her father came out of seclusion, he would still be an ant that Jiang Tian could casually slap to death. How could she not be afraid? Jiang Tian looked at her coldly. This kind of gaze made Su Ruoqing's heart jump and her soul leave her body. Unlike other men who looked at her with aggressive desire, reverence, and fear, Jiang Tian looked at her as if he was looking at a bedbug. I promise I'll be loyal to you. I know you're married, so I won't be jealous. I just want to be the woman behind you. If you get me, you'll get the underground world of Jinling without spending a single soldier. I can even help you get rid of the Nye family and the other 2 families. The Su family has dominated Jinling City for more than 20 years. They have endless connections and power, and they have 20 billion in legal assets. At this moment, she was like a pear blossom in the rain, delicate and pitiful as she begged with soft words. Her waist swayed, and her tender and plump snow-white chest was exposed, extremely alluring. She crawled in front of Jiang Tian and pressed her plump and soft chest against Jiang Tian's leg. Ha, you ugly bitch, you still want to seduce me? Look at yourself in the rain. Jiang Tian lifted his leg and kicked her to the side. He silently smiled and said, "You can't even compare to a strand of hair on my beloved wife's head. Moreover, you're so old. Who gave you the confidence to show off your brainlessness and shamelessness?" Jiang Su Ruoqing was kicked 5 meters away by Jiang Tian. Her head hit a rock hard and blood gushed out from her forehead. She was ashamed, shocked, and angry. She stood up and shouted, "Jiang Tian, do you really want to kill me and become the enemy of the Su family? You might not be afraid of the Su family, but what about your family? You dare to threaten me?" Jiang Tianyu raised his white palm. Su Ruoqing was scared out of her wits. She knew that if Jiang Tian's hand landed on her, she would be turned into a pile of meat paste. She quickly knelt on the ground and said in a trembling voice, "I don't dare. It's just that my family doesn't know about your strength, and my family has a lot of connections in the government." Jiang Tian crossed his hands behind his back and stood proudly on the rock. He sneered and said, "You are talking about your third uncle, Su Ziyuan, the deputy director of the Jinling City Police Department, right? Secretary Yu is going to kill him. Our plan is to wipe out the entire Su family." "What? You know Secretary Yu?" Su Ruoqing's heart skipped a beat. She couldn't believe it. "You are ignorant. You don't know about my strength and connections." Jiang Tian's eyes flashed with contempt. He said sarcastically, "You only know that I am the Master Kong of Lingnan, but you don't know that I am Kong Taichu, the man who killed Lin Zhenyu at the Martial Arts Alliance Conference." It seemed that the Su family was not that powerful after all. They didn't even know Qin Fan's strength before they were used as cannon fodder by the Nye family. No wonder Su Zhenlei was trapped in Jinling City. "You are Kong Taichu, the most powerful grandmaster under the immortal state." Su Ruoqing was completely dumbfounded. The fact that Jiang Tian was in charge of Lingnan was enough to shock people. He had surpassed the concept of a young hero and could be called the overlord of a region. Just like Nie Mingyuan, Xia Miao, and Su Ruoqing in Jinling City, they were all young heroes, but they couldn't be compared to Nie Zhanghai. They needed time to build up their strength. However, Jiang Tian was the overlord of Lingnan. He was on par with Nie Zhanghai and Sun Lingyun. He was already able to suppress Su Ruoqing, which was enough to shock her. But now, she realized that she had seriously underestimated Jiang Tian's strength. Master Kong of Lingnan was on a completely different level compared to Kong Taichu, who killed Lin Zhenyu at the Martial Arts Alliance Conference. It could be said that since the second half of last year, Kong Taichu's name had become a taboo in the upper class of Huaxia. He was like a god high and mighty. To be able to suppress martial arts giants like Hu Qingtian, Wu Yingxiong, Yi Wudao, and Yi Zhantian was the only one in Huaxia who could be on par with him. Now, there were many powerful forces that wanted to rely on Jiang Tian. This kind of prestige was not something that Su Zhenlei could compare to. It could be said that with a word from Jiang Tian, the martial arts world of Huaxia could uproot the Su family from Jinling. There was no need for Jiang Tian to do it himself. Thinking of this, Su Ruoqing complained in her heart. She was so scared that her heart almost exploded on the spot. She hurriedly said, "Master Kong, I'm completely convinced. I'm willing to be your slave and follow you. I won't take you. I'm afraid my wife won't like it if I take a woman as a maid." Jiang Tian shook his head indifferently. Su Ruoqing's face was blank. She couldn't believe it. Kong Taichu is such a powerful figure in Huaxia. Is he afraid of his wife? But at this moment of life and death, she didn't have time to think about this. She hurriedly said, "Master Kong, I can help you get rid of the Nye family, Qin family, and Sun family. I know you care about your reputation. You don't want to appear so vicious and ruthless, Jiang Tian was slightly stunned. Then he smiled and said, "Little girl, you're a smart person. I already have Shen Mange as my zither attendant. I still need a sword attendant. Fine, you can be my sword attendant." Big families like the Nye family had decades of history. Not only did they have deep roots in Jinling, their connections could be said to be all over Huaxia. The most obvious thing was that they had connections in Wudong. Jiang Tian wasn't afraid of semi-hidden sects like Wudong, but the problem was that Jiang Tian wanted to help Qinger find the new flower. He didn't want to make too many enemies. Instead, he wanted to build up good karma and be kind to people. And with Su Ruoqing, this vicious dog that was good at biting people, he could hide behind the scenes. Even if the Nye family and Wudong came for revenge, Jiang Tian would have an extra layer of defense. Master Kong, don't worry. I'll be loyal, Su Ruoqing was delighted and hurriedly promised.